We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
We'll get through these technical issues because we're a couple of boomers, right?
Actually, I don't know. Did Bill use a couple of words that Netter wouldn't like in that thing? I think she probably did. He was throwing a tantrum. That was earlier in his career. Yeah. Hi, everyone. Am I minute in yet? No, I gotta.
I think we're good enough into it. We're good 25 seconds.
Welcome to Geeky Geezers. I'm your host, Agent Boomer. This is my co-host, PaPa Pacelli. I have no fortune cookies tonight.
I do, though.
Why don't you be the one to do it? Why don't
Netter and I, we were out all day. I'm kind of exhausted. We were out today running a bunch of errands, and I was like, God, I'm hungry. You want something to eat? She's like, yeah, let's get Chinese. Our regular Chinese place closed up. So we said, well, what else is in the area? And we found one and said, we'll give them a try. So okay, I'm gonna go ahead and open my
fortune if you want to read it.
Okay, I'll read yours in a second. First, let me break open and eat the first half of the
I can talk over your chewing. It's okay. It's hard finding a good Chinese restaurant sometimes. I try the lo mein first and see how that is.
Oh, hey, this is a good fortune. I think this will be meaningful for you too, Boomer.
Yes.
Your present plans are going to succeed.
Oh, we talked about something behind the scenes. I have not.
We're working to improve the brand over here, and let's hope. So I'll eat the other half of the cookie and accept that fortune.
Okay. Let me say hi to the chat while you're chewing. Welcome, FKHC 2005, otherwise known as Tim.
Netter's on our side. Hers says, "Your dearest wish will come true." So there you go.
Okay.
She's
my dearest wish is for a dry September and a dry October. Okay. My dearest wish is for no one to get hit by a hurricane, but my dearest wish is for us not to. Definitely. Bambi the Reckoning. Bambi now is. We're gonna get to that later. It's gonna be like Jaws, but with a deer in it. I don't know. Thank you, Netter's Network. Oh, you get the 2-for-1 here. I get the Hi Sweetie and Troy gets Hello Love My Life there. Look at that.
Yep, and I love you too, Netter.
Waiting for the Thumper film. Now he's hopping mad. Yeah, well,
I like that. That's good.
I got 5 minutes into Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and I said I can't do this.
Really?
I can't do this. It's the juxtaposition, and let's be honest, Winnie the Pooh, people who know it for Disney, it's really just an English children's story, and there are other versions of Winnie the Pooh out there. There could be, and that's fine.
Actually, you know what I think would have been brilliant? See, again, these are all missed opportunities. What they really should be doing is a little bit more Cocaine Bear and a little bit less Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, I don't like seeing like Winnie the Pooh choking out Christopher Robin's wife or something. No,
right. But how much better would it be though if Winnie the Pooh was a real bear? Right?
That'd be funny.
And it takes place, in the real 100-acre wood.
What would have been funny if it turns out Christopher Robin was nuts and hung out with all these animals, and turns out they were just real animals all along, and he was just,
so kind of like a
American
Return to
Psycho
Oz
or
kind
something.
of thing.
Yeah, and then suddenly, if it was Christopher Robin who was the nut, I don't know, but anyway,
guys, I was thinking about this today. I think on an upcoming Monday night at the movies, we're going to do The Wizard of Oz and Return to Oz. Return to Oz is a whole trip.
Veruca Salt, right? Veruca Salt. Have you seen recent pictures of her?
I have not. No.
She doesn't age.
Wow. Well, no, I think it's the juju she practices.
I don't know. I always liked her look. She had that very 90s alternative girl look.
Yeah, kind of.
The one who might be into the dark stuff. But Bambi the Reckoning, is anything like Gandhi too? From UHF. I love UHF. Welcome, Connie.
Is that the one where Gandhi's like packing an Uzi or something like that?
Give me a steak, medium rare. Remember when he said that?
Yeah.
That was back when you could just have fun, dumb movies and nobody cared because we can't do comedies anymore.
Yeah.
Has there been a comedy this year?
Well, there was that Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, the Deadpool Wolverine.
If.
Yeah.
Well, there was that, but there was also If.
I keep forgetting. It's not that Deadpool's a spoof. It's just it's a comedy set in Marvel comics.
It kind of is a spoof of Marvel, isn't it? It's a spoof within its own narrative.
Well, it would. I just remember in Deadpool 2 how he gets out of prison and then he's mounting the rescue. And I keep thinking, I forgot. In superhero comics, when you break out of prison, you no longer have to go back to jail. It's like now the sentence is gone. It's like I always wondered this. Like no, you still had your sentence and were still sent to mutant prison.
And now you're probably going to get more time tacked on, right?
Yeah, that's what I would think, but that doesn't.
But see, this was a great opportunity. If what they should have done, and this is what they did in the comics, this was a great opportunity when they did Daredevil and She-Hulk. They could have examined the Marvel Universe legal system.
Funny.
And they didn't. They missed their opportunity.
Dude, that would have been an awesome legal drama.
Yup.
Deadpool's
that was the
expectation.
Yes. And it wasn't. It was just this neo-Marxist lefty loony bullcrap.
I have a question. Why didn't they get David E. Kelly involved?
Oh,
he did Ally McBeal. He did all these legal comedy.
Yes.
He did legal dramas and legal comedies, and sometimes he would mix the two.
Yeah,
just have him. Why didn't they just bring him on to do
it? Especially when you think about what Ally McBeal was, I feel like he would have looked at She-Hulk and gone, "Oh, so this is basically just Ally McBeal, except I also get to break the fourth wall."
Do you know what the Ally McBeal in some ways? Well, I don't know if it ever broke the fourth wall. No, Boston Legal broke the fourth wall with William Shatner.
Right.
William Shatner would break the fourth wall on that show. He did one thing at the beginning of the episode, and he's like, done. And then he says, cue the music, looks at the screen, and then the intro starts.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just, let's see, though. Hail, thank you, deleted scenes. Hail the chat. Thank you for that. JPRPH1. I'll have to go back and re-listen to your thing earlier. I know you were probably getting a little spicy earlier, right?
Well, his unscripted, that tends to be his spicy one. So
Bambi the Reckoning sounds like a really metal movie like John Wick, except they're hunters instead of Bratva. Okay. Do you work tomorrow?
Me, no.
Okay. I guess
but I'm gonna have to make up for it on Tuesday. That's what sucks.
Well,
Utopia.
Hi everybody. Welcome to Utopia. Yep. Hello, Crispy. I think I said, did I say hi, Horizon Zero to Horizon?
You started to bring up his comment, but then it didn't quite make it.
It's all right. Outlaw Bill, welcome. Welcome to the chat. You figured out how to redirect from your stream to someone else's stream. Now you need to teach me how to do that. Oh yeah, thank you, deleted scenes.
Yeah,
we're still working on that.
I'll get him taken care of next week. Don't worry.
Hit that thumbs up, peeps watching, and only 6 thumbs up. Yeah, if you could, thank you. Doesn't take much. You can even do it if you're watching it on your TV. I tend to watch a lot of stuff on the Roku player, and that doesn't necessarily translate well to leaving a comment, but you can always hit the thumbs up pretty easily. Okay, if you're watching through a TV. Of course, I don't know how many of the kids even have TVs anymore.
Good point.
I like TVs. I'm like Shadow, though. He was saying, like, call me Shadow when he was saying, no, I had to go out and find a 720p plasma. And I'm like, I have one of those in storage. I can't bear to get rid of it because it still works. And I'm like, I might regret getting rid of it. Now I realize, I think he's right. I think the old plasmas, they have some of the best pictures. Because I think he was arguing movies shouldn't be too high def. Because then you lose, they stop looking like movies. But
it's funny because I've seen some parody videos and whatnot, and they kind of go for the whole, like, you remember Ren and Stimpy, and you'd be watching them, and then all of a sudden they do like a super close up on someone, and you'd see like their pores, and you'd see something hanging out of their nose and stuff. I kind of feel that's how HD is, you know?
Yeah,
I don't need to see the pores on somebody's skin.
Well, that's what George Lucas is there for, to edit all that stuff out, or the AI guy over at who works for James Cameron, right?
Oh yeah, when they do the HD up, it'll all be blurred, so it's upscaled, but it looks worse. Yeah,
I remember when the James Bond Blu-rays came out, and they were hit and miss. People were furious over the GoldenEye HD upgrade, because they say it really had some of that like smearing, like caked on look on a lot of the actors. And I think a lot of the complaint was when they originally made Goldeneye, they weren't using the best film stock. They were using old film stock because this was them trying to bring Bond back. So I guess it was harder to remaster that one. So they did digital noise reduction. I think that's what they call it, DNR. And they DNR'd it, and people do not like that remaster. But I own it. Probably should have held on to my DVDs, but I gave them to my uncle.
But I will say this about Plasma, though. They do have a limited lifespan, and mine is coming to the end of its. It's starting to get blue pixelation in the lower left-hand corner.
Oh, really? Is that what happens?
Yeah.
Well, and, then that day comes, and I have to replace that Plasma. I'll just get a TCL Roku TV, 1080p, because I'm a loser like that. No, I don't need to buy a 4K because I just have Blu-ray, and I guess gamers would want 4K, though. I keep forgetting a lot of the games are in 4K, too.
Sure.
Anyway, Geeky Geezers. I didn't put my name on this. Oh, well. Okay, I'm Agent Boomer. Let's talk about the good old days.
What are we going to remember fondly, Agent Boomer?
Trapper Keeper.
Not through rose-colored glasses, but we are remembering fondly.
Look at that beauty.
That looks like the one I had. Yeah.
You had probably more than no frills kind.
Yep. Yeah, very much so.
Troy was sending me some commercials. I almost wish I had held on to one of them because it's it was
a very 80s thing, yeah.
And he's like, and it ends with him trying to pick up a girl, and I'm like, this kid would get Me Too today.
Me Too these days, yeah, exactly.
Unwanted advance, the innocent days of the 80s,
Right, exactly.
What you would do is you would get shot down, and that's okay, but it's like.
It's funny because the same, this is what happens every time on YouTube. You look something up and then it starts suggesting things that are like adjacent. It thinks you're going to like. So after looking at like 3 Trapper Keeper commercials, I saw the ad for Mr. Microphone. Hey, good looking. Be back to pick you up later. And I'm like, oh, geez.
Wow.
That was cringe back then. Now, again, you'd get YouTube.
Yeah, but there wasn't also all this anti-man stuff out there in the media, which is helping make things worse. Because it used to be like you might get an eye roll or maybe a nasty comment, but that would be it. Now it's like you're getting brought before HR.
The worst that would happen is the girl would be like, "Get lost, creep."
Yeah, and that's no Trapper Keeper. Unless the girl liked you, then she would like it anyway. Trapper Keeper.
It's still that way.
WTF? Listen. Maybe it's not your example of good old days, but I figure everyone started school too. I know up north it was always Labor Day or after Labor Day. Enjoy going back to school. For those of us in the South, you get a 3-day weekend because you started school a couple weeks earlier. College was late for me this year. I started last week.
Yeah.
Trapper Keeper had a real one like that. Now, I'm going to go through different designs, but Troy, did you like your Trapper Keeper?
I very much did. Look, yes. I got to tell you, this may come as a big shock to all of you, but I was a huge nerd. I really was. I was a nerd in high school, and I was all about first, you got to remember in grade school, I went to a parochial grade school, Catholic grade school, with the biker nuns, Sister Mary Butch, she had a tattoo that said "Born to Raise Lazarus." You got out of line. Woo! Right, but
I remember some of those. Yeah,
but what did they drill into your head over and over and over again? Besides, shut up and pay attention. Was this goes on your permanent record, and every job you look at is going to look at your permanent record, and so on and so forth. And I still had that in my mind when I went to high school. So every class, every September, right, I was getting ready. You get that list of stuff you had to get. Right. And you'd go through this checklist of things you had to get. And some of it you had to get there at the school, like your gym equipment and, locker, combination locker, stuff like that. Other stuff, it was like, you can get it here, but if you can find it cheaper, get it. Well, Trapper Keeper. Had to get a Trapper Keeper because you could have a separate folder for each class. You kept everything neat.
Yes.
You had the notebook inside of it. Yeah. There was.
I'm going through all.
Actually, you know what? I take it back.
I'll show you the insides.
I didn't have the blue one. Let me see. There was one you just showed us. The next one. That one. That was the one I had.
That's pretty.
It is.
Now, I have a question. Was Trapper Keeper, when you were in school, considered the nerd thing to get?
No, I got
Okay.
it right at the time when it was popular. Now,
because I know when I was a kid, all the kids wanted a Trapper Keeper. Yeah, yeah.
By the time I was leaving high school, here's how it went. It went from, this is the cool thing that everyone has to have, and it lasted that way for a couple of years. Then it became, this is the kind of thing that nerds and girls like.
Trapper Keeper?
Yeah, yeah.
Huh.
It was the girly, flowery girly ones were for the girls. They like to keep things neat and tidy.
Yes.
And the nerds like to keep things neat and tidy.
Well,
and the cooler guys were like, okay, I'm over this. I don't care.
It's weird. I think was either middle school or high school, I stopped getting them, and I don't remember why. Maybe that was why. Maybe none of the other boys my age were getting them. Look at that. That's cool. Come on, man. That's like the tiger or the panther.
It is kind of cool.
Come on. That's I remember this design. I don't know if I had this or if someone I knew had this, but it looks very familiar to me.
You want me to blow your mind about this?
Yes.
I knew people that customized these. They would take a razor blade and slit, the very corner, the edge, slide the cardboard out, slide in a new illustration, and then they would use a lighter to reseal it.
Interesting. I never thought of that.
Uh-huh.
I have no idea what this is. I had to look it up. We carried full-size backpacks to school every day. They might not have had them where you're from. This was a very American 1980s thing. Troy was showing me commercials from the early 80s. Like, they were more basic in the early 80s, like this one. But later on, you got the designs. What do you think of that one? Wow. That might be a girly one, right? I don't know. Maybe not.
I don't know. In the early 80s, this would have been very, because we were going into that whole neon period, and everyone.
Yes. Everyone's doing neons.
Yeah.
That's definitely a girly one. Ain't no way I'm bringing that to school. You're a boy. You bring that to school. You're getting
actually. I don't even see kids in high school use it. That one would have been a grade school.
Yeah, but I think I had these. When did I have these? It was elementary school. I think it was later elementary school, like 4th, 5th, or 6th grade. That's what it was.
Gotcha.
That one looks familiar. I had a weird one I liked. I couldn't find a picture of this one. It was like, it almost reminded me of the designs like in Tron, how like you had the circular balls and like this weird field. I had that one. This one looks familiar. I think I knew someone who had this one, a balloon.
Sure.
Yeah, that looks neat. I don't know who did this one. Look at that skateboard, and where
can you imagine a skateboard on a roller coaster?
Roller coaster, come on.
Yeah.
Let's face facts. When you're in school, you have to look at something interesting, unless it's a teacher, which most of the time it's not. Sometimes you got lucky, but
I don't know. I had a 1 in 7 chance of having a really hot teacher, so I was, Yeah.
I think the best looking teacher I ever had was community college statistics. But anyway, okay. Anyway, she was married though, so never mind. Okay.
Well, what's the difference? You were underage, I mean,
not in community college. You're over 18 at that point.
Oh, yeah.
I think she was mid-20s or something. I don't know. Anyway, here we go. This was a fascinating one. I'm late for class because I was sucked into a parallel universe. What the heck? See, they had the multiverse back then, kids.
Makes me think of that aha video, Take on Me, right?
That unicorn make on SPC. It'd be funny if there's a guy like a punk rocker and he would go to school and he'd be wearing the like the metal the spiked metal bracelets and all that,
right.
And he has the unicorn because just wanting someone to mess with him, right?
Exactly.
Look at that car, huh? What kind of car is that?
Is that a Lambo?
Might be Lamborghini. Okay. I had Automobile Lamborghini for the Nintendo 64 from Titus. Paid $59.99 for it.
Cool.
It wasn't that good a game. I think I traded it in. The N64 was the first and only console where I traded in a few games because there were a lot of racing games on it.
Curtis says in America, we were so rich, we had backpacks and Trapper Keepers. That's true. That's true.
Trapper Keepers were cool. I want to show you what the inside of one looked like. Rock and roll. Come on. I guess there wasn't licensed MTV yet, but that's kind of what that was going for, I think. Yeah. That's what the inside would look like. So you'd have all your little Trapper portfolios in there, and they would be for different subjects. And it's to keep yourself organized Also, you know, it makes you
Well,
want. You know what it is? It makes a kid want to be organized. That's what these.
It used to be that you see, you'd have portfolios like this, right?
Mhm.
But they were the pockets were straight across, and if you had a stack of them or you were carrying them with your books or whatever, the papers would generally tend to kind of want to fall out. This has the pocket going on a diagonal that held it in, you know, and it wasn't falling out. Plus, this binder, that's basically what the Trapper Keeper was. It was a 3-ring binder, had a wraparound to it with a closure so that, you know, it was keeping your stuff safe. It's a Trapper Keeper, so you wouldn't lose anything.
Yeah.
Now it goes the extra mile. You can see here useful information. It had a ruler on there. It had weights and measure
stuff you need to know.
It had that matrix at the top, I believe, is a multiplication table matrix.
Listen, kids, you didn't have your little smart devices with the internet
Right.
on them. You this is what you had.
Exactly.
You know? I mean, this is and they kind of look cool too. Look at that. I used to have
and
some of these.
The idea was you got like 3 or 4 folders with your Trapper Keeper, but then you could buy them separately, so you could literally have one for each class, and you could see name, subject. You'd put your name on it. You'd write, you know, biology,
subject, yes,
and that's where your homework was. I would put my notes on the left hand side. I would put my homework for the day on the right hand side.
Okay, yeah. Wait, was this? I'll be back later. Have to head to work. Okay, well,
understood.
Have a happy day at work. I keep forgetting you're probably on reverse time zones than we are.
Exactly.
But yeah, that was the Trapper Keeper. Oh wait, we have one more coming up. This is one from the 90s because apparently they're still making them into the 90s. Sonic.
Oh, they got as far as Sonic the Hedgehog. Yeah, look at that though. See, this is look at the edging on the flap.
Yeah.
First, up at the very, very top of that picture, you can see how much wider it was.
Yep.
They were trying to make room for more folders. That was one of the issues that people had. It's like, I've got 7 classes, and if I've got 7 folders, it gets too thick. So they started going a little bit wider. And then
high school was such bullshit. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah. No, you're absolutely right. But
classes I liked in high school, film and video production. That was TV and video production.
There you go.
They didn't have film. Let's not get crazy now. But they did have TV video production. Took about my senior year, and I was like, I should have taken this. I should have taken this all 4 years, or at least.
Yeah, I was the nerd. I loved all my math classes. I loved all my science classes.
Tolerated them. I had to work at them. I did pretty well. Funny enough, I was really bad at anatomy physiology, but I think I did well by the last semester that it brought my grade up. So that was weird. So, chemistry I was okay at, but yeah.
Chemistry was the only class I failed. I failed it and had to retake it.
Yeah, 32 years later, you're still taking it.
What the heck did I get a D in? Oh, I got a D in something. Probably why I had to, I think it was geometry. Oh, geometry, no.
Geek Flag with Nate Knows says his Trapper Keepers were Knight Rider, A-Team, and Star Trek The Wrath of Khan. That's right, because they did start licensing.
Dude, they had Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan?
I didn't have one, but yeah.
For that. Oh. I think I was getting into Star Trek around the time I was getting Trapper Keepers, but I don't think they if they had anything, they had TNG, and I was not on board with TNG until a few seasons in, because I was like, that first season, whoa, I wanted to.
The second season was still pretty meh.
Did the second season have the introduction of the Borg though? At least was that in season 2? Where
I want to say that was season 3. That was a season 3 ender, I think.
What the heck did season 2 have? It had Dr. What's her name?
Dr. Pulaski, who was basically a female version of Dr. McCoy.
You know what's interesting about Dr. Pulaski, though? She wouldn't take any crap from Picard.
No, she would not.
She was an interesting character.
They were trying to do with her the same thing they did with McCoy, because McCoy was the same way. He wasn't a line officer, so he didn't have to take any bullshit. But at least McCoy was good friends with Kirk.
Yeah.
They didn't have that kind of rapport between Pulaski and Picard. But so you point out that was one of your worst subjects too. Yeah.
We all have our worst subjects, and here's the funny thing: sometimes you'll be bad at a subject in high school, but be better at it when you have to retake it in college. Like I did not do well with Spanish in high school, but I did okay in college. In fact, I think sometimes it also helps if you have a decent teacher. But yeah, math was never my strong suit.
Yeah. So yeah, Sonic in the 90s. So as you point out, Trapper Keeper made it into the 90s, but it's one of those good old days things that's actually come back. Just dropped the link for you. You can get your own Trapper Keeper directly from Mead. They are doing them again,
Sasha,
and they're
I
mostly.
don't know if you can import
styles.
one. Yeah, but you can get a lot of you can get these. And Sasha, you might be able to import one if you need one.
There you go. If you are nostalgic for something you never actually had, there you go. So this is not a sponsored stream, by the way, just something I discovered as we were researching.
Well, I don't mind pointing out a good product, and I think Trapper Keeper is still a good product. Granted, I'm nostalgic for it. And one of the problems that you're doing online classes, you don't get the experience of going to the college classroom and bringing.
There is one thing I will say from looking at these online, and they're $17. I mean, that's not a bad price. But from what I can see when I look at the internals, if you remember, the Trapper Keeper back in the 80s was all plastic. But what was the benefit of the plastic was that 3-ring binder, there was this tab at the bottom you'd pull out, and instead of being an open closure type of thing like the metal 3-ring binders, this was a plastic thing that slid out and slid back closed.
I remember that.
It clicked into place. What was great about that
I can't
is
see a picture of it here. Oh well.
It really locked in the binding. Whereas anyone who's ever used these metal ones knows that over time they eventually loosen up and they kind of suck. And then sometimes the two halves don't fit together right, And now the modern Trapper Keepers have those. They're just reuses of the regular black, or not black, but metal 3-ring bind that you can get in any. They're a little nostalgic, but they're missing some of the elements that made the Trapper Keeper as good as it was. So
go look online, I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it might, if in all seriousness, if you're getting it for like your kids or whatever, go check them out at your local, office supply place and see if they're any good.
Sell them. Yeah, see if they still sell them.
And otherwise, don't get them unless you're just feeling nostalgic and you want one. I get that.
Well, thank you, D. Pensek. I did want to actually find a Sonic one because we can talk about Sonic the Hedgehog later. But I guess I was right about the Borg. Borg were in season 2, episode 16. Q Who? Remember, the season 3 finale was the first of what was it?
The two-parter, the best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah, yes. Q Who introduced the Borg.
Yeah, that was a good episode too. I'll say that.
Yeah, and it wasn't so much a Borg episode so much as it was a Q episode, and he kind of flicks them into the Delta Quadrant.
Yeah.
Where they make first contact with the Borg and this was just literally, it was just Q saying, you don't realize what's out there. You think you can diplomacy away everything.
No.
And this is a force of nature that you cannot deal with.
There are always two types of things in Star Trek. They're like the intelligent aliens, like that may have antagonistic relationship with the Federation, like Romulans, Klingons. Then you have the truly alien things that you run into, like the crystalline entity was another one. That thing from Star Trek 4 that was looking for the whales. Sometimes you run into these things.
Right.
Vija, you run into these things, which in some ways had an origin on Earth, which was interesting. But
true.
You run into these very alien entities that you can't communicate them to like how a Klingon would.
Exactly.
And like the Borg, you can't really reason with. Boomer to me, TNG was a birthday gift because it aired September 20th, 1987, my 16th birthday. I remember watching it live.
Yeah, I did too.
They did a good follow up to that crystalline entity episode on TNG.
Oh, the one with one with Data and the woman whose son was killed by the crystalline entity. Yeah.
And she broke a major Federation. She killed it, and
Yeah.
she's going to Federation jail because that
Oh,
was
yeah.
a first contact situation. Because I think they were actually figuring out how to communicate with it, and maybe they could have made peace with this thing because there might be others out there too, right? So it
Right.
was, yeah, and that was a major mishap.
Well, but you also got the distinct impression she had some PTSD. She was a little bit, goofy because she was getting Data to like, Data. One of the things that we find out about Data is that Data had the recordings and the diaries and all this stuff of everyone at the colony.
Yep.
And he had met her son and knew him and was able to emulate his voice. Yep. So she wanted him to like, talk to her in his voice and stuff like that. It was very clear she was not entirely stable.
No.
Good writing. That was some great
There was
writing.
some great writing on TNG. I'm not picking on TNG as a whole because I think the sum of its parts were better than the few cracks there. And let's face facts, probably even the original Star Trek got some cracks in it too. But
oh yeah, Spock's brain, anyone? Just saying.
All right. But yeah, Trapper Keeper. Here we are tonight. I have to say I like this thumbnail because when I think about Geeky Geezers, there's some nights where I'm like, is this really all that geeky, what we're looking at here? But I think this is pretty geeky.
Yeah,
this is pretty geeky. Geeky stream tonight. I'd say so. You got comics, you got video games, you got superheroes.
I was really proud of that one in the lower left there. That was my
Bill Nye.
My little use of the I don't like calling it AI because it's not really AI, but the auto generating artwork. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yes, we all someone was saying we all become the old man eventually. I was saying I thought I was the old man here. I said we all become the old man eventually.
But you'll
turn 40 and then you'll realize it's coming.
But in fact, that one in the lower left-hand corner happens to be our first article of the night.
Yes, I'll go ahead and Disney World. Bill Nye, Disney World cuts ties with Bill Nye, the Science Guy, after nearly 30 years. Did you like this little picture I put together? It says VHS tapes because I'm starting to think this had something to do with it, maybe. Remember we did an article a while back about him going before that judge saying they're not paying me for the stuff they're streaming on Disney Plus or something, or because streaming rights weren't included. They should have been included with the video deal. Didn't the judge screw him over or something and said, nope, you don't get residuals for the stuff they put on streaming or something?
But you know what? That is what the strikes were all about last year. I told you it was going to happen.
Maybe that got settled, and now Disney's like, okay.
Yeah. And
we just won't show your crap anymore. That's probably what they said.
And most people don't realize that a lot of the issues that we're talking about, which we'll talk more about on Friday night, but all the destruction of our favorite franchises and whatnot, a lot more of it has to do with not paying residuals to people than it does, in injecting messaging and stuff and so on and so forth. Don't get me wrong. There's absolutely social vandals.
It's a combination of factors. Yeah. And the social vandals is part of it. Yes.
But a big part of Star Trek. And this is not even debatable anymore. This isn't even, controversial anymore. The rights related issues with Star Trek, everyone talking about in Picard about how what about Lal? What about Lore and so on and so forth? No mention of them. That kind of screws up the continuity. Well, they didn't want to mention them because they didn't want to have to pay the writers who created those characters. And everyone's going, I'm sorry, but all of that lore is integrally part of Star Trek. If you omit it, you break Trek, and it's worth nothing. So pay whomever you have to, whatever you have to.
Here is something.
I'm sorry, I'm getting off on a tangent. Maybe I should just save this for Friday.
I did want to say something else to touch on that, though. Well, then don't worry about it. Set your series like 300 years later, okay? Or do this, and that way you don't have to keep referencing lore and these other things. Same went for Star Wars. no one would have a problem if you want to set it like 300 years later, and these are new heroes and new villains and maybe a new enemy or something.
Right.
But said they still had to tie it to the old series, but they didn't want to tie it too much.
That's a very good point, and it's going to be a big part of what I want to talk about on Friday. So we'll talk
about it Friday. Yeah, Friday will be a good stream on Last Call. Following D23, this goes back to Bill Nye though. Following D23, we have a lot to look forward to at Disney parks. Okay, well, I don't know if that was my editor or theirs.
I don't know.
A great deal of new attractions at Disney World are planned for the next several years. The recent announcement that work is set to begin soon on Tropical Americas area of Disney's Animal Kingdom has a lot of Walt Disney World fans quite excited. I'm assuming that's like Brazilian rainforest.
I don't think any Disney fans are excited about anything Disney's doing, but that's another topic.
Dinoland USA has been underused for years. At the new land will be receiving attractions dedicated to Encanto, and Indiana Jones is a lot to look forward to. However, there is one beloved attraction that will have to go to make room for what's new. And when Dinosaur finally closes, it will end a nearly 3-decade run for Bill Nye, the science guy at Walt Disney World. It's sad when moments like this, and Bill Nye is a pretty iconic figure for many who grew up with him. It will certainly be sad to see him go. He had an impressive run at Walt Disney World. Bill Nye's relationship with Disney goes back to the early 1990s when a self-titled TV series was produced by the company. Perhaps that was why in the late 90s the famed educator could be found in 3 different places at Walt Disney World. However, 2 of those 3 attractions are already gone, and as one fan pointed out on Twitter, the 3rd is now on the chopping block. In 1996, Epcot's Universe of Energy attraction got a massive update, was transformed into Ellen's Energy Adventure.
Oh, God.
It was awful. I hated what they did to the Universe of Energy. I went to Epcot in the early 80s and throughout the 80s because for some reason, I don't know why, it always felt like I went to Epcot more than the other parks. And the one thing it always had in common was Captain EO was never working when I was there. Anyway, I finally
got to see it?
I finally did later on, but it was like first the 3D movie they had in there before Captain EO, that was shut down because we're making room for Captain EO. Or no, maybe it was shut down because they were doing revamps on it. Then it was shut down because they were bringing Captain EO. Then Captain EO was shut down for renovations. And it's like, what is going on here? I want to see the 3D movie.
Well, anyway. I mean, I guess this was the shape of things to come because now everything's breaking down again for entirely different reasons.
I don't know why they had such trouble. Okay. I hated what they did to the Universe of Energy. The original Universe of Energy was very much, you're going to get to go back in time and see these animatronic dinosaurs. We're very serious. I think Exxon owned that pavilion. It was them trying to say, like fossil fuels, maybe they came from dinosaurs. So let's talk about dinosaurs, and it's like that. And it was like you were going on a trip back in time, and it was a neat little presentation. And then I guess to liven it up in 1996, let's stick Ellen DeGeneres in there, who I guess was a comedian at the time before she was the talk shows, and Bill Nye the Science Guy. And I'm like, wow, I feel like the ride got dumbed down. That's what I felt. I felt like this.
You think you go from Bill Nye the Science Guy to Ellen?
No, they were both on the ride. Before that, it was just like a presentation. Okay. It was like a kind of a semi-serious presentation, but you got to see the dinosaurs, and that's what Epcot was. It was very science oriented. It was supposed to be like going to a World's Fair.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Anyway, while Ellen DeGeneres got her name in the show, Bill Nye was just a big part of the video animatronic adventure. Yeah, I think he showed up in the video portion. The story saw Nye taking DeGeneres. Oh, you know who else was in that ride? Jamie Lee Curtis. I think they were both on Jeopardy and
why? Because she's a fossil?
Science questions. No, this was when she was. This was around. This is like True Lies era. Jamie Lee Curtis when she was younger.
Oh, okay.
She was like her high school rival who always beat her at on Jeopardy, and like she had this dream that she was on Jeopardy and would lose to her, and then or like she was going to be on with her on Jeopardy, and then suddenly she goes on this ride and learns all about science, and she's getting all the science questions right, and Alex Trebek gives her a.
Oh my!
They kept putting all of these. I don't want to say D-list, maybe like B-list celebrities in these rides, which drive me crazy. They put Eric Idle was in Journey into Imagination. Leave Journey into Imagination alone. It was the best ride in the park. And now we have, and not that I hate Eric Idle, but they put him in there as some scientist guy that was supposed to be like, like in the same camp as the Nutty Professor, the Eddie Murphy one, and the Robin Williams professor who did the flubber. They were trying to, and he was like part of that group. I don't know. They were trying to make it more, I guess, kid friendly. I guess that's what they were trying to do. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
While Ellen DeGeneres, they got rid of Dream Master and stuck him in there instead. I prefer Dream Master. He was interesting. Anyway, while Ellen DeGeneres got her name in the show, Bill Nye was just a big part of the video animatronic adventure. The story saw Nye taking DeGeneres through a history of the discovery and use of different forms of energy. The show ran for more than 20 years, lasting longer than the original version of the attraction before being replaced by Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind. See, don't get me started on talking about Epcot.
Yeah.
In 1998, 2 more attractions would be added that would include Nye at Disney Quest at Disney Springs. He would be seen as part of Cyberspace Mountain Game. Then at Disney Animal Kingdom, he would be included in the dinosaur attraction, giving guests facts about the creatures. Disney Quest would close in 2017. I never went to that. I always saw it, but I never went to it. To make way for the ill-fated NBA experience. What was the NBA experience?
I have no idea.
That left Dinosaur as the one place that Bill Nye could be found in the parks. But we know at some point, sooner rather than later, Bill Nye would be gone entirely. Dinosaur's days are numbered at Disney's Animal Kingdom. The new Tropical Americas area at Disney Animal Kingdom was officially announced to be replacing Dinoland USA. It was all but confirmed that the dinosaur was dead, maybe because it's having to compete with Jurassic Park. Let's be real here.
Okay, yeah, maybe.
I don't know if this was supposed to be based on that Disney dinosaur animated movie that came out years back. Remember that one?
Oh, maybe.
CG. I hated that movie. That was a bad Disney movie. That was supposed to be originally be a Paul Verhoeven project. You know, the RoboCop guy, and basically, basically it's a guy. He wanted to do a realistic 3D animated movie that would just show like the dinosaurs going through their regular business, like killing each other, hunting for food and stuff. And then it would end with the asteroid or the big disaster happening that would kill them, and like how they died. And it would just be a movie about that. There wouldn't be any actors. And then somehow, I guess it got passed around a lot of hands in Hollywood and turned into that cartoon where the omnivores were the good dinosaurs and the carnivores were the bad dinosaurs, and people were making an argument, but no, in Animal Kingdom, it's usually the carnivorous eaters that protect each other and are more family and pack orientated instead of just treating them like monsters. It was so bad. Anyway, Mr. Cranky had a good review of that. I'm going off. Okay. You looking forward to Tropical Americanas?
Not at all. I'm not looking forward to anything that Disney does.
It's going to have an Indiana Jones attraction. Have you ever heard about the Indiana Jones ride that they had at Disneyland? Not Disney World. Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Well, no. I'm sorry. I take that back. I don't know about a ride. I know about the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular.
This was a ride. It never was in Orlando. It was only in Disneyland, California.
What was it? Was it like based on 2 with the mine carts and stuff?
Sort of, because I think you were in some kind of area that was like mine carts, but it was an original adventure. I think in the Disneyland ride, you were in some part of Southeast Asia looking for some jewel or something, and like there's all this stuff happening, and you just get to see Indiana Jones like climbing up a rope or whatnot, right?
Yeah.
But,
okay.
And it was a neat little animatronic ride, but it just and they redid it in Disneyland Tokyo, where it was a South American theme, because they said Asia's too close to Japan. We want to make it more unique, so we'll have it be a South American adventure. I guess like where he's in Peru or something, like in the, looking for the Lost Idol or something. But I guess they're going to recreate it now in Orlando. As long as they don't PC it up, it might be a fun ride, right?
Yeah.
Except Kathleen Kennedy kind of hurt the brand of Indiana Jones a bit.
Just a little bit.
Okay, but Bill Nye, though, he's done. I guess he's done at Disney. Will his name be stricken from the record?
Let's be honest. You know why they're doing this. He's a white guy. They got to get rid of him.
No, Boomer, that Indiana Jones ride, what's before Disney bought Lucasfilm? Yeah, that's true, because it was kind of like how you had Star Tours in Orlando. They had an Indiana Jones ride in Disneyland, and it was just a cool ride. But I forgot, now they own Lucasfilm, so they're going to figure out some way to mess it up.
Almost certainly, yes.
It'd be great if they could just do a ride based on the Temple of Doom minecarts. That would just be, which I think is what it was sort of trying to go for. But anyway, okay. I'm sure he's trying to return the whatever he's trying to find to the indigenous people, right? Okay.
I'm sure.
Maybe for a museum. All right, let's move on to the Deadpool news. Are we sad about Bill Nye?
No, I'm not. I was never a big Bill Nye fan to begin with. You know, I mean, he was no Mr. Wizard, so. You know.
Oh, hold that thought. That'll be a good old days at some point.
Yeah, right.
To do Mr. Wizard. I think the last time we talked about Bill Nye, I said we are going to do Mr. Wizard. Mr. Wizard, I always thought was interesting because you always got the impression he didn't always like the kids. You know?
He did seem a little bit curmudgeonly, like he was curmudgeonly.
Like you don't have to worry about any scandals with him because I got the impression he didn't like
he didn't like kids at all. Yeah, that's for sure. Exactly. And this upcoming article here, you'll see the thumbnail again when we end. But I went with the picture of Deadpool climbing up on his shoulders. You know, Deadpool back on top. I thought that was funny. I thought that was clever.
Deadpool back on top as summer comes to a close. Yeah, I guess Alien Romulus dipped. Deadpool Wolverine returns to the top of the chart this weekend, thanks to a decline of 39% in its fifth weekend in theaters, with Alien Romulus dropping 61% its second weekend. That's a big drop off for that.
It is.
And it ends with us off 50% in its third outing. That was room for at least a new release to hit the top three. Average to poor results for the new new wide releases left them quite a way back in the crowd, though. Average to poor results for the 4 new wide releases left them quite a way back in the crowd, though. I hate that sentence.
Yeah. I honestly, all of these articles, remember, we're
pick
sharing
on my own writing and then
other people's articles, and the editing just sucks. Some of them seem like they weren't edited at all. It's like, where is the professionalism?
Anyway, not that we're trying to pick on where was this from?
Well, I am. I'm calling them out.
Was it Cinema Blend or something? I don't know. Anyway, Deadpool's 18.3 million weekend will take it to 577 million to date domestically, and our new model now predicts it will finish 633 million because Ryan Reynolds was able to do his stuff. I still haven't seen it though. That'll be a wait for video probably for me. It ends with us. We'll finish out on weekend with 120.8 million North America. Inside Out 2 passes a major milestone this weekend, becoming the first animated movie to gross over $1 billion internationally. You know what? It was a success. I'm not a Pixar fan, but I don't try to sugarcoat things. You know. Yeah. So, did you predict this that Deadpool would be on top again? I guess it has legs.
I guess if I'd thought it through because of what it's up against and whatnot, it doesn't surprise me. Let's put it that way. I can't lay claim to any kind of predictions related to it, but it's not a big surprise. What is the competition out there? You know, maybe I don't know. The Crow. We'll talk about that.
And Borderlands. That's the competition.
Yeah. So. It should not be much of a surprise when. Can
you imagine doing a double feature of the Borderlands and the Crow? I'm just saying.
I mean, can you imagine ripping your eyeballs out of your head? I mean, just saying, man. Gosh.
Captain Proton was my favorite. What is that from? JPR PH1.
Is that another like? TV
Epcot?
Educator type of thing?
I thought it was an Epcot ride.
Maybe.
There was this one Epcot ride that I really liked where you were inside this kid's head because you were, I guess, trying to be. It was almost like Inside Out before Inside Out. It was an interesting ride.
Oh,
Linda Carter, I'll be in my bunk. Okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, she was perfect. Anyway. Oh, now we got to talk about games.
The gaming industry just sucks.
Well, not everything. Like there are some news articles involving gaming. Of course, they're about old games.
True. Yeah, that's the problem. Nothing new is good.
That Chinese game, the Wukong game with the monkey guy. That everyone's loving that one, even though the gaming press were trying to eviscerate it.
Yeah,
because I guess it wasn't diverse enough by having too many Chinese people in it. I don't know what they're talking about. Anyway, In fact, I think the main character is this Monkey King type character. So that's very diverse, right? I mean, that's
well,
like,
that is a
that's
character
a deity in China, right? That's
from their mythology, exactly.
Concord, catastrophic Concord launch keeps getting worse. This is from Smash JT's site.
Yeah.
He does good work over there. Check
He
it
really
out.
does. He's on the front lines of dealing with all this bullshit coming out of the gaming industry.
Everyone's talking about Concord, though. JPRP, no, not JPR, RGB 81 or whatever his name is. He was talking about this. It's basically this huge disaster, and beyond it, even maybe some of the woke stuff in it. If people argue about the woke stuff, I think the people are saying it's a live service game, and of this like a kind of a shooter, I guess, type live service game, and there are already games out there like that. The market's saturated. No one wants to jump on. PlayStation sales estimated leaks said, yikes, grab your popcorn because there's some new disastrous news hitting Concord. If you thought the game was struggling before, you have no idea just how bad it's gotten. Let's break down this disaster of a launch and see how Sony's big bet, chasing a trend with their flashy hero shooter, went belly up. The numbers speak for themselves, and they're ugly, so let's check out our friends over at Steam. How many people are actually playing Concord? Ready for this? A whopping 109 players as I write this article. That's not good. And a 24-hour peak. There are probably indie titles that have more players on them. And a 24-hour peak of just 151. Yeah, that's right. This game has been out 2 weeks, and we're already looking at the numbers you'd expect for a niche indie title. And looking at downward trajectory, here's the kicker. PlayStation numbers have leaked, and they aren't doing much better. I bet that new Doom release with the online mode it has on it, it's probably doing a lot better than this. And that's how old a game?
Yeah, you're probably right. We
can't track real-time player counts on PlayStation, but we can take a peek at the trophy stats to get a clue. Shout out to Larry Bundy, heads up on this info over on X. The easiest trophy in the game, the one you get for like your first kill, has been snagged by just 1,220 people. That's right, 1,220 PlayStation players have bothered to make the first kill in a shooter. It's almost as if no one is playing the game at all. Sales figure, real punch in the gut. Rumor has it, and by rumor I mean industry analysts, that Concord has only sold about 25,000 copies across all platforms. To break that down, that's a guess of about 10,000 on Steam, 15,000 on PlayStation, for a game that Sony hyped up and poured upwards of $150 million into. These numbers are beyond flat out embarrassing, and let's be honest, even those numbers might be generous. If only 1,220 players on PlayStation have played the first kill trophy, the actual numbers of people playing it probably way lower. I heard no one was even, should it have been free to play? I've been saying Sony should have just launched Concord as a free-to-play game for months, or at the very least included with PlayStation Plus. And you know what? That might be the only way to salvage this sinking ship. Sure, it would probably tick off the people who actually paid $40 for it, but hey, desperate times call for desperate measures. That happens all the time, too. I think that happened with Destiny 2, where it was once a thing you paid $60 for, and they just made it free. A pricing mistake. Here's where it gets painful. Concord isn't just a flop, it's a costly one. We're talking about a game that probably had a budget of over 100 million, maybe even closer to 200 million, depending on which rumors you believe. Yeah, don't forget about advertising, right?
Yeah. Apparently
there's another game that I'm expecting to hear numbers on soon too, and that's Star Wars Outlaws, but that'll be a future story. Sony went on with high-end trailers and a big marketing push, and now they're left holding the bag just in an attempt to capitalize on a trend from 8 years ago. Yeah, and he's not even talking about a lot of the woke stuff in the game too. Like, I don't know, but anyway. What do you think?
Yeah, there's no point, right? When it's already, just the facts are just enough. You don't even need to opine on it.
Geek Flag, Dustborn is the worst game ever created in the history of video games. We may talk a little bit about Dustborn on Friday stream, okay?
Yeah, probably.
Because the creator's been lashing out at people about that. So I think Skyrim was the last game I played. People still play Skyrim. That's the funny thing. I don't play many games, but Hogwarts Legacy was the last game I bought, and was happy when the PS4 version came out. I have the PS4 version of Hogwarts Legacy. It actually plays pretty well on the PS4. It's I don't feel like it's a compromised experience, and they say that's another problem. People are not going out and buying a lot of the new consoles This was a PS5 and Steam exclusive. This wasn't on Xbox. It's not on PlayStation 4. So they can't play it. And to be fair, I guess you do want your big hit games to get people to go out and buy your shiny new console, but I don't know. But this is a disaster for Sony. Because they were actually doing pretty well with this console war. Because Xbox has basically given up. Their last big exclusives, one of them was the Indiana Jones game that was supposed to be an Xbox exclusive coming to PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's the one I have reservations about, because I think he's got a girl boss sidekick in it or something. But they didn't get Harrison Ford to do his voice either. It's Troy Baker, but they have Harrison Ford's likeness in that game. But yeah. Toby Todd's playing the villain in it, though. That's interesting.
I like Tony Todd.
Yes, so that's the one good thing about it, yeah. Because it looks like he's going at a certain German group are the villains in this game, but there's also Tony Todd, who I guess he has other things that he's trying to do with whatever they're after in the game. But yeah. Last few games I bought were PS3 games. First two are Batman Arkham games and BioShock. Yeah. Well, I like the Nintendo Switch a lot, too. And even the PS4 and even the Xbox One. I've had those. I haven't found a reason to buy one of the new consoles yet. Because they're very expensive. First, they were very hard to get. Now, I don't know. I just like that new Spider-Man that came out. I don't know. I just they changed Mary Jane too much. I've become a nostalgia player, mainly Command and Conquer 3 and Pharaoh Cleopatra Civilization 3. Well, they say a lot of people are going back and playing old games now, like the new Doom re-release that came out recently, and this is a segue.
Yes, it is.
It's a segue. Tetris Forever.
I'll be honest with you. I was a little bit behind on this. I only ever knew of like one version of Tetris. I didn't know there was a number of them.
Yes. Tetris. I'm very excited about this release. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it gets a physical. I'll buy it digital if that's the only way I can get it, but I'd like to get a physical copy of this. I often contemplated, because I don't typically buy a lot of import cartridges for like my Super Nintendo or NES, but I was always curious about the versions of Tetris Japan had, which were different than our Tetris. And they're all here. And they're all here. And I can play them on my Switch. I'm very happy. Let's talk about Tetris Forever. Okay. Digital Eclipse has Tetris Games Collection announced for Tetris Forever for the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, Steam. Good old games. It will launch in 2024. Here is an overview of the collection via Digital Eclipse. Celebrating 40 captivating years of Tetris, includes more than 15 playable classic Tetris games and an all-new Tetris game, Tetris Time Warp. Unrivaled after 4 decades, Tetris Forever celebrates the original inspiring puzzle game that escaped from behind the Iron Curtain onto the world stage and into our cultural consciousness. For those 5 people out there in North America who have subscription to Apple TV Plus, you can watch the Tetris movie too.
True.
It's a joke. It's actually a good movie. I just wish it was available where people could watch it.
Exactly.
More than 15 playable classic games from the series' history are featured, including many being released for the first time outside Japan. Battle Your Friends and multiplayer cult favorite Tetris Battle Gaiden. Create massive explosions to clear lines, and Super Bomb Bliss. Oh, I'm very excited. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And see where it all began in 1984 with an accurate recreation of the first version of Tetris on the Electronica 60 computer, which was only available, I bet, in the Soviet Union. The guy that invented Tetris, you found this out from the Tetris movie. He had to create the Tetris shapes using keyboard inputs like dashes and hyphens and things like that, because there was no graphics on the computer he used.
Oh my gosh.
How? And
that was innovation, you know?
This is going to have the original version that Bulletproof Software put out in Japan, because that was the one that the guy was trying to sell to Nintendo, and then he gets sent over to North America. We're going to show you something in North America. It's top secret. You have to sign an NDA and all this. And he goes over to North America and meets Todd Lincoln, Vice President of Nintendo of America. And they show him this little device called Game Boy.
Yeah.
And they were going to ship it with Super Mario Land. And he says, listen, you ship this with Super Mario Land, you'll sell it to all the kids. You ship this system with Tetris, you'll sell it to everybody. and he convinced them
That was
Tetris needs to be the
call.
game for North
Yeah,
America.
good
He was an
call.
interesting man. I think he was Dutch, but he was also living in Japan. So he was a Dutch man that grew, I guess, but he also lived in Japan, and he's the one that worked for Bulletproof Software that we're releasing, and he saw Tetris, and Tetris was a rights. We talk about movie rights and things. Tetris was a rights nightmare.
Yep. Yes, it was.
Because at one point, Sega, Nintendo, and Atari all thought they had the rights to it.
Yep.
Sega had Japanese arcade rights to it. Atari ended up having American arcade rights to it. Nintendo had portable rights because no one even thought of doing portable rights, and Nintendo ended up having console rights at the end of the day. That was a bitter pill to swallow for a lot of the other companies because Nintendo had exclusivity. What's featured on here, though, at least in North America and Europe, I don't think are going to be the Nintendo Tetris games. It's going to be the ones that were published by other companies in Japan and maybe for other systems. If they include the new Tetris for the Nintendo 64, I'll flip my shit.
Yeah.
The new Tetris for the Nintendo 64 is an incredible version of Tetris. I hope they include that on here. 4 players simultaneous. But regardless, I'm getting this, and that's super bombless. Over here in North America, Nintendo released a game called Tetris Blast for the Game Boy. And at first, it seems like regular Tetris, except in this game, you create bombs by putting certain parts of shapes together. And then you explode lines. And I was addicted to this puzzle game. And unfortunately, I think I might have lost it with my Game Boy game. So the fact that it's coming out with this set, at least the Super Nintendo version, I'm very happy, and I'm picking this up. Period. This is a must buy for me. Does anybody else care about Tetris here?
No, I mean I like it. I'm not sure if I'll go out of my way, but let me tell you something.
It'll be on Steam.
Oh, it will be on Steam. There you go.
Yes, it should be at least. I think. Yeah.
The Game Boy Tetris, and my stepson had Game Boy, so I played it on there. Let me tell you, those games. And the simplified graphics, right, and whatnot, and the simplicity of the controls.
Yep.
Tell me you couldn't make a version of that works on mobile phones now? Why are they not doing that?
I'm sure there is.
Yeah.
There has to be. I know.
But I mean, they should be licensing that and do it through the Google. What is it called? Google Play Store or whatever. Just make it happen. It's not on there. Google Play Store. I don't know. I've never looked.
I know EA did stuff with Tetris for a while. I think they were being sneaky about it, where there was a lot of like pay options and stuff in it.
Tetris is Tetris on the Google Play Store.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Careful. Remember, free to play means free to pay.
Yeah, that's true.
Sometimes
that is true.
When you pay to play, there's also more pay. So be careful about that.
True.
But this more than 15 playable classic games. So I'm very excited. It's going to include a full hour documentary on it too, where they talk about where they actually interview the original creator, I think, and the co-founder, and talk about Tetris. So it's not only you get the games, you get a little historical stuff in here too. So and it's going to have Tetris Time Warp. Up to 4 players will warp between different eras of Tetris. So you'll be playing, I guess, the old Soviet version versus the Nintendo of Japan version, and who knows what else. I really hope they put new Tetris on this. I'm excited. Anyone in the chat excited? The Tetris movie's on Apple TV Plus. Yes, I've seen it on there. It's a good movie. I wish I could own a copy of it on DVD. But let's talk about Tetris. Or wow, this is going to be a longer stream than I thought. Longer topic than I thought. I'm sorry.
No. Tetris Forever. Let's talk about Tetris Forever. In other words, this stream will go on forever.
Oh, I get it, because it's forever. Well, that's the idea. Tetris is technically a game you could... No, people would get kill scenes on Tetris. Remember, there was that one kid, he got the kill screen on the Nintendo Tetris, and some Australian lady said, go out and get some sun, kid. And I'm thinking, leave the kid alone. That's actually an accomplishment. And who says he doesn't go out and do outside things, too?
Right, exactly.
It was a typical mom reaction, I think, like soccer mom type things.
You can get Tetris on Google Play.
Just be careful. It could be a crappy version. I have a really awful like LCD Tetris game too, but this is Tetris Forever. Very excited. I will probably get this on Nintendo Switch if that'll be my system of choice for this. I had Tetris for Game Boy, but that was my favorite for Game Boy. I'm excited. Age Boomer. I don't know if they're going to include the Game Boy version with this, but they might. It just depends, because I don't know if Nintendo is going to have that in this collection on other consoles, but you'll definitely get plenty of versions of Tetris, including the original Japanese Famicom version that was released on basically the Nintendo in Japan. It was really weird. The Nintendo system in Japan had a different Tetris than the one we got in North America. I've always wanted to try it. So anyway, excited. Any Castlevania fans in the chat?
Only if there's wall chicken.
I think they got rid of the wall chicken when they got to their what they call the Metroidvania style games, which basically it's Castlevania games done in the style of Metroid, where you're doing more exploration and getting items and stuff. You probably had to buy your wall chicken from a vendor.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I'm going through Dracula's castle and I happen to run into the Romanian version of McDonald's, right? To get my wall chicken.
That's funny. But this is the Castlevania Dominus Collection. I love to pick on Konami, but I can't pick on them here. That's very clever. Dominus, I guess that's like a Latin term. You hear it in like yes. But it's DS. Nintendo DS, which was dual screen. These are the DS games.
Oh, they
can't call it the DS collection because that's a Nintendo copyright thing, but they can put their DS games on this collection. That's what it is. When they did the Castlevania Advance collection, it was the Game Boy Advance Castlevania games. So that's kind of neat. They called this Castlevania Dominus Collection. And it's kind of funny because like my favorite game I think on the Nintendo DS was I think it was Advance Wars Days of Ruin. And I kept saying they didn't get DS in the title. And then I'm like, oh, wait, Days. There's the D and the S at the end. There's the DS.
That's very clever.
Get it? That was something clever they would do. I'm a fan of Castlevania. Yeah, if you have a decent PC or a modern console, you can get these classic DS Castlevania games, but even something extra too. Let's get into this a little bit. Konami has announced Castlevania Dominus Collection, a re-release of classic Castlevania Nintendo DS games from the 2000s. This is great for no one who got a chance to buy them because they're very expensive now. They're collector's items, but now you can get them in this collection. The new Castlevania Dominus Collection.
Does that destroy the collector value of the originals?
No, probably not. People still like to own the original item.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure there'll be a physical release at some point. Right now, you can get it digitally, but I know Limited Run tends to release these things in physical versions at some point. The new Castlevania Dominus Collection will include 2005's Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, 2006's Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, 2008's Castlevania Order of Ecclesia, and even a reimagined port of Haunted Castle, the original Castlevania arcade game. A release is set for today across Windows PC via Steam, Xbox Series X, Switch, PS4, and PS5. Eager fans can expect the new Castlevania Dominus Collection later today. Here's a rundown of the collection, plus the real trailer. Okay, I'm going to go over this a little bit. I'm not going to repeat what they said. Haunted Castle came out after the original Castlevania on the NES, and it was supposed to be like an arcade version of Castlevania.
Okay.
I finally got a chance to play it with this Konami arcade collection they released a while back. I bought an Xbox. It is awful.
Oh,
it is an awful game. But here's what
this
this collection does. They've completely remade Haunted Castle. You can still play the original arcade game in this collection too, but if you want to play their new revamped version with new sprite work, new level layouts and everything, and I've heard it actually plays well. I think they actually took a game that was broken and fixed it and put this on here as a bonus, and you get all the DS Castlevania games. The lore of Castlevania to me was always better than the actual games. I don't know. I really enjoyed these later ones. And plus, let's be honest here, I'm a stickler for the old Castlevanias too. But these were the ones where you did more exploration. You know what's interesting about Castlevania Portrait of Ruin? You play as two characters at once. That's Charlotte and Jonathan. I think Jonathan is descended from Quincy Morris. And they end up going and I forget if they're in Dracula's castle in this one, but they have to go through these portraits. And when you're in a portrait, you're in a different area. And the portraits all have different themes. One is like a demented circus theme.
Wow.
One looks like, Egypt. So, of course, you're fighting mummies. And you actually fight Nefertiti, I think, in one scene.
That's interesting.
And she sends hearts out at the characters. And it doesn't work on Charlotte, but if Jonathan gets hit by a heart, he won't fight her anymore, and he's like obsessed with her, and like he's like in a daze because of her beauty. Do you understand? It's like
It's a charm, yeah.
It's a charm, but like, because she's like this beautiful Egyptian woman. I think it was like the one who Moses was originally engaged to in the Ten Commandments before he got kicked out of Egypt. But you know what I'm talking about. And
yeah.
That's what that reminded me of. You have Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, which is the sequel to Area of Sorrow, which sees the return of Soma Cruz. After Dracula was finally and permanently destroyed in the year 2000 by Julius Belmont, Dracula's spirit was reincarnated in a teenage Japanese kid. High school.
Oh my gosh.
And basically, he has the spirit of Dracula in him, so he can do things like control monsters, but it's also in him to turn to the dark side and become Dracula all over again. So he has to sort of fight that in his nature. But you're fighting other things in these series too. In fact, I think the villains you're fighting in Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow are people who are trying to bring back Dracula, not because they're Dracula worshippers, but because they believe for good to exist, you need evil, and that's why Dracula needs to exist in the world or something.
Wow.
It's like this. I could be wrong, but yeah. And then you have what the heck was the last one called? That was the first one that had Castlevania game that had a female protagonist, a sole female protagonist that you played as, Order of Ecclesia. And I think that was like an alchemist guild that were having to fight vampires when the Belmonts kind of disappeared off the face of the earth. So they made a point that there are other people that fight these forces too, and she's one of them. And she has like ancient runes on her back and things like that. I think this was the basis for what would be eventually become the Bloodstained games that we get today, which were done by the guy that created Castlevania. But this is a great collection. $24.99 digitally. There may be a physical copy at some point. I think there usually is one for these collections because it's Castlevania. You can also wait for it to go on sale, but I think even at $24.99, you get a lot of bang for your buck here. So yeah, if you're a fan of games like Castlevania Symphony of the Night, but haven't had a chance to play these, I highly recommend them. And they even figured out a way to make it work without the touch controls. Because on the DS, you always had to use touch controls, at least for one of the games.
What are touch controls?
You have to touch the... Okay, you know what the tablet is when you touch the tablet and things happen?
Sure.
Yes. Well, you could do that in Dawn of Sorrow. To beat a boss, you had to do this thing. And then later on, Nintendo says, oh, you don't have to use touch controls if you don't want to. Because I think Konami thought they had to.
Oh, I see.
And it was kind of superfluous, but I can finally find this game, Dawn of Sorrow, just by doing, like, I think a QuickTime thing instead of those awful. Because people said that kind of broke the game when you would have to go into this precise. You had to draw, like, a rune or something exactly as it was on the screen. Otherwise, you have to fight the boss all over again. It drove people nuts. But I think that's fixed to this version. Gotcha. So, okay. Anyway, I've rambled too long enough. Let's move on. Fun games. You know what's cool about Castlevania Portrait of Ruin, though I forgot to mention this other thing? The villains in it are these two young women, twin vampires. One has kind of an innocent look. One has more of a seductive look. I think it's a nod to Twins of Evil.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes. Okay. DS needed a stylus for the bottom of the screen. Yes, it did. But they figured out a way not to have you use it in this version. Let's talk about things we didn't want to see revisited. You're more of a fan of the Crow comics, I think, than I am. You've read some of them, and you said that there were a ton of stories they could have pulled from it. They didn't want to redo the original movie, right?
Yes.
Because the point is, Crow just goes to any person, and when they're done with their thing, then they go, I guess, to the or whatever, right? Yeah. So
keeping it as simple as possible, the Crow is the whole thing is predicated on this idea that when a spirit dies, a crow comes to take your spirit to the afterlife. But in certain circumstances, and the primary Crow storyline is an obvious one. When something really terrible happens, the spirit just can't be at rest and refuses to go. The Crow allows you the time to get your unfinished business taken care of. And in most of these stories, it's some sort of revenge. And yes. As you can imagine, and of course, the idea is by the end of the story, the character gets his revenge, and they go on to the afterlife. This is the concept of the revenant, right? An undead being that comes back. Not like a ghost exactly, but in its physical form, in a zombie type form, but to extract its revenge on someone that killed him or
did wrong.
what did wrong to him, and then he can be at rest, and then he goes on to his heaven or whatever. And there's a whole bunch of these different stories, and this one about what's the character's name? Eric Draven.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
This is the one that was told years ago, starring Brandon Lee. Brandon Lee, of course, having died during the filming of the movie, which had a direct impact on it. That is a hugely beloved film, and one of the things we're going to be talking about in the coming weeks on Last Call is this whole concept of some things should be remade and some things should absolutely not. And this is an example of one that absolutely should not. A better option. And I'm sorry.
One of the other stories.
Yeah, my memory of character names from comics that I read, 30 years ago is not that great. But there was a storyline about a woman. You want to do your gender swapping and I want to see strong female characters, and I want everyone to be represented on screen. Well, this is a great opportunity. This character could be male, female, anything. Could be anything.
Different races, white, black, Hispanic, Asian.
Exactly.
Yes.
There was a female crow who died. Not only did she die, but she was pregnant at the time.
Oh wow!
So she comes back for all kinds of F you up type vengeance.
That would be a great movie.
That would have been a great movie. That I think a lot more.
You could still just call it The Crow and use the cachet of the name. Do you understand? Because they probably just want to call it The Crow. But you could still do that just with a different story, right?
And people don't realize there were actually already sequels to The Crow. There was, I think there was 3. One of which went directly to
that
DVD.
one with Kirsten Dunst. Were they based on the comics or were they a different thing?
I actually don't remember.
I know with 2, I saw 2 in the theaters. I didn't like it. I heard the Harvey Weinstein interfered big time with that production, and
that was a huge problem. Nate points out that it was called Crow the Bride, and Quentin Tarantino said it was his motivation for Kill Bill. That actually makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. So, and that's what you do. You call it The Crow, or Crow the Bride, Yes. I mean, and that's what they did with the other ones too. They didn't go Crow 2, Crow 3, Crow 4. They gave them subtitles exactly the way the comics did. And you either adapt another comic or you start making up your own. You can do that too. But that's not the route they chose to go. They chose to, I'm going to say it this way, they chose to tread on sacred ground and did not go very well for them.
No. Let's read from this article. Let's get back to here. And I'm just going to say, Lionsgate The Crow reboot is a box office bomb after opening at 4.6 million on a reported production budget of $50 million. One person who isn't exactly upset about the matter is filmmaker Alex Proyas, who directed the original The Crow adaptation in 1994. Proyas has long spoken out against the reboot. As his star Brandon Lee was killed on the set of the original movie, he's been rejoicing on his Facebook page over the reboot flopping at the box office. I thought the remake was a cynical cash grab, not much cash to grab, it seems, Proyas wrote about the new film's box office performance. The director has also been sharing negative reviews of the reboot. One review called The Crow Reboot the worst movie of the year, to which Proyas wrote the review. We've all been waiting for it. It's a bit like flogging a dead horse now, so I think I'll stop after this until another funny one comes along. Proyas has been critical of The Crow reboot since its trailer dropped in March, arguing The Crow's legacy should remain solely with Brandon Lee and not get tainted with an update. The reboot stars star John Wick, Chapter 4 star Bill Skarsgård in the lead. I really don't get any joy from seeing negativity about my fellow filmmakers' work, Proyas wrote on social media in March while pointing out the negative likes on the reboot's trailer. I'm certain the cast and crew really had good intentions, as we do on any film, so it pains me to see any more on this topic, but I think the fans' response speaks volumes. The Crow is not just a movie. Brandon Lee died making it, and it was finished as a testament to his lost brilliance and tragic loss. It is his legacy. That's how it should remain. The reboot's co-screenwriter William Schneider defended the new film in an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, saying the team behind the reboot intentionally did not go the same route as Proyas did in his story because we felt like...
Yeah, well, if you wanted to intentionally not go the same route, you shouldn't have told the same story, you fucktard.
I bet these idiots don't even know there are other crow stories out there.
Probably not. Probably not.
Instead, we want to or the studio only had the rights to do this remake on this particular story. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's good for them because they lost a shit ton of money.
Instead, we want to chart.
They'd have been better off doing nothing.
Instead, we want to chart our own course almost as a way to sort of celebrate it and say, hey, we found a new way into the story, and we want them both to exist with their own voices and their own set of fans. Is that the modern audience that they always talk about? I hope everyone walks away from the film just reinvested in the people they love and care about, because yes, it's about grief, it's about loss. It's also about sacrifice and what you're willing to do for the person you love. The Crow is playing in theaters nationwide, not for long, I would say.
Well, and speaking of, and what you do for someone you love, I've heard a lot of people say that like the first half of the movie is trying to get you to, believe that these two love each other. And it's like, yeah, I don't see why these two dysfunctional people have anything to do with anything. They just no.
I'm not sure what you mean, Matt. Are you saying the director of X-Men Origins, Wolverine, directed this movie?
No,
me, right?
Is that the case? Because I was going to say,
know.
I'm looking at this picture. I'm like, he kind of does look like the X-Men Origins Deadpool.
Maybe that's what he
except
meant.
without his mouth. Except you're actually able to see some teeth there,
The Crow was a tragic masterpiece. After losing Brandon Lee, the casting family dedicated their talents to complete the film to honor him. The Abomination. This is soulless cash grab. Yes. Don't they know that? Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. I want to comment on that. That's very much a good point, Nate. And this is why I say it's like treading on sacred ground. There was this whole conflagration of events that led to making that film as popular as it was. It was a good movie. It was a great representation of its time. It was a story that was begging to be adapted. And tragically, it resulted in Brandon Lee's death, which brought about changes in the entire industry and the way safety is managed on Hollywood sets. Alec Baldwin notwithstanding, dumb fuck. But be that as it may, his death also brought people to the theater to then see how talented he had been.
He would have been a huge movie star had he lived, yeah.
And so that movie made a lot of money, sadly, partly because of his death, and it needed to be left alone. Now, I don't mean left alone like it shouldn't have had sequels. Sequels were fine. Well, actually, I don't know they were fine. I didn't see the 3 sequels. But
the thing is, theoretically, it doesn't matter because it's not the same character. It's a different person.
Exactly.
So they would have done follow-ups, yes.
They weren't saying
it's basically an anthology series of comics, right?
Exactly right. Based around it's not the same character, but the concept of the character is the same. This Revenant, the Crow, is, it's kind of like if someone else wears the mask of Dr. Fate or something like that, it's, whatever. But so even if those other 3 movies sucked, which I actually heard they did, I don't feel those besmirch Brandon Lee and the first movie. This one literally takes a dump on it. This honors nothing.
I heard that these characters are very unlikable in this movie. Which is not the case in the original movie. They were actually good people in the original movie. I think they were taking care of people who were...
Let me tell you something. That was the comic and the film should really bring a tear to your eye. You care about that. When his wife gets killed, you as an audience are devastated. You feel what he feels. And you're like, damn it, yes, I want to see him come back and fix things, so to speak, you know. And then you're left with this impression that they can then be together in the afterlife, you know. They get resolution. That is a great story arc. I don't see them doing that here.
I think that Bill Skarsgård is already trying to distance himself from this too.
But again, I'm going to say about him the same thing I've said about so many others. People get pissed at me, but I feel this way. You should have known better.
Yeah.
You have bad representation and you have bad instincts. You chose a bad role.
Now I'm thinking Bill Skarsgård.
Every freaking person in Hollywood, every actor should look at a script and then Google that script, the title, and see if it's ever been done. Do you think
he and Dakota Johnson had the same agent?
You know, it's the same. It's the same sin, really. It's like, look, this was a dumb thing to do. Maybe you never saw The Crow. Maybe you're too young to know about it. Do your research. Get on the internet. Google's your friend. Well, no, maybe that's going a bit too far. But in this instance, it is. You look up The Crow and you find out that there's a huge following there. And they're remaking it. You know, again, in a couple of weeks, we'll be talking about remakes on Last Call. But
I could see Brandon Lee as Neo. I'll say that.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see Keanu Reeves as him too, but
yeah.
but I could see. But once again, I refer back to Retro Blasting's video. It's okay to let things end. Do you mean like this?
Well, I wasn't going to say anything because I know you have strong feelings about the Jurassic World.
I'm just over it. At this point.
Oh, are you?
Do you have anything left to say about the Crow?
No,
though? Okay, all right. Let's go back into.
We'll probably, like I said, revisit it when we're talking remakes on Last Call.
Oh no, Jurassic World Rebirth first look. I'm one of the few people. I know other people out there didn't like Jurassic World. I liked the first Jurassic World. I did enjoy it just because I thought I liked the fact that finally you get to see Jurassic Park as an actual theme park, because it was always something that they were always teasing that they were going to open and people were going to be there. Whereas in Jurassic Park, you see the theme park with guests and everything. You know?
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me. But Jurassic World Rebirth.
Yeah.
I noticed, I heard this was a problem with Westworld in later seasons. Whenever you take these Michael Crichton ideas and you shift them away from their original purpose, like the idea of Jurassic Park, it's a theme park. All idea behind Westworld, it's a theme park. When you take it out of that, I don't think it's as interesting. Universal was officially released the first look of Jurassic World Rebirth, the 7th film in the 31-year-old franchise starring Scarlett Johansson.
You know, this is becoming the joke that they used to make in movies back in the day when they're doing Jaws 25 and, you know, Rocky 32 and stuff like that. And that's a joke, you know?
That's Universal. Was Universal Rocky? I don't know. Universal was Jaws. They milked Jaws. Just like
they were also Back to the Future too, where that made that joke about Jaws, you know?
Jurassic Park is the new Jaws.
It is.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, because everyone loves
even
the first
down
movie.
down to the park ride.
Yeah, that's true. I love that Jaws park ride. I did want to say though, here's what I think with Jurassic Park. I like Jurassic Park 1. I like Jurassic Park 3 because it's basically a scaled down story of Dr. Grant trying to save this kid. This family hires him. Right. They have to go find the kid that's on this other island. And then I like Jurassic World because of the ridiculousness of the whole scenario. But I enjoyed that. And that's it. What was Dominion the second one? Or Fallen Kingdom? I don't even remember these titles. I thought the second Jurassic World was okay. I liked the dinosaur auction. I thought the clone girl was stupid. And then they doubled down on the clone girl in the third one. I'm like, really? That her mom was this amazing scientist and all this other. No. Universal has officially released the first look of Jurassic World Rebirth, the 7th film in 31-year-old franchise starring Scarlett Johansson, Jonathan Bailey, and Mahershala Ali.
By the way, I
think I got that name right for once. Okay.
From that picture there that's showing right now.
Yeah.
Am I the only one that thinks that this is that Jonathan Bailey guy?
I guess, yeah.
Am I the only one that's looking at him thinking he looks like Viva Fry before he let his afro grow?
Maybe.
Just wondering. I mean, I
Well,
saw
they
that.
can't
I'm
get
like,
Chris Pratt back. They'll have Chris
Mm.
Pratt show up in the third of this new trilogy. He'll show up in that one.
he'll show up just to get eaten by a T-Rex or
No,
something.
they won't do that. They didn't do that with Dr. Grant, and then when they showed up in the third Jurassic World movie, which was dumb. Okay, don't get me started.
Yeah.
At least in the second Jurassic World movie, they had Jeff Goldblum in it, but it's more like he's testifying before Congress instead of him being on the adventure, and he's basically saying,
I tried to tell him.
he's saying that that people want to get the dinosaurs off the island because this volcano is going to explode on the island and kill all the dinosaurs, and he's saying, let it. Nature is giving us an out. These creatures shouldn't be here anyway.
Right.
It's gonna cause awful things if you try to rescue and bring them off. And this is a natural disaster. This has nothing to do with man. Just let it happen. It's not like we're executing the dinosaurs. This is nature trying to correct the thing that we made the mistake on. And but anyway,
no, it's actually I only wish that in these kinds of movies, they would be as on the nose with, you always have that one guy who's making that argument, right? Yes. I'd like to see them be on the nose and just go, we're playing God here. This is Frankenstein. Let the Frankenstein monster die. Don't try to save the Frankenstein monster. What the hell is wrong with you? Because you're going to save the Frankenstein monster, then he's going to throw your daughter in the water.
Yeah, Frankenstein had a tendency to do that. Didn't they? They did that. They did a repeat of that scene in Young Frankenstein, right?
Yeah, I think so. Something like that. Yeah.
Universal has officially released the first look of Jurassic World Rebirth, the 7th film in the 31-year-old franchise. Okay, we already did this. Okay. Rogue One, a Star Wars story. The creator is directing from a script by David Cope. Okay. Gareth Edwards is directing this, who wrote the original Jurassic Park, released in 1993. According to an official summary, the film will be set 5 years following the event.
That's pretty disingenuous, though. What? You wrote a screenplay based on Michael Crichton's book. Congratulations. You copied someone else's notes.
And let's be honest, Steven Spielberg was probably the big creative influence there in that movie. Then he did two.
Yeah, the director probably has more to do with it than the person that translated Michael Crichton's story. Yeah.
Then he did Lost World, which I didn't like. And then we had 3, which wasn't directed by Spielberg, but I liked that one more because it was more like a scaled-down, simpler story. So it was fine. William H. Macy was in it. Anyway, according to an official summary, the film will be set 5 years following the events of Jurassic World Dominion, when the planet's ecology has proven largely inhospitable for dinosaurs. Those remaining exist in isolated equatorial environments with climates resembling the one in which they once thrived. The synopsis continues. The 3 most colossal creatures with the tropical biosphere hold the key to a drug that will bring miraculous life-saving benefits to humankind. The studio has also revealed details about many of the characters' film. Johansson's character is a covert ops expert named Zora Bennett, so she's basically playing Black Widow, who has been hired to lead a team extracting DNA from the 3 most gargantuan dinosaur species alive. Ali plays Zora's partners, Duncan Kincaid. Bailey plays a paleontologist named Dr. Henry Loomis. And Rupert Fiend Homeland plays Martin Krebs, the representative of the drug conglomerate funding the expedition. He'll be the villain.
Of course.
Anyway,
that's an easy call these days. Everyone sees the drug companies as the villains these days. Let's just say it.
In the last one,
make America healthy again, folks.
In the last one, it was a Silicon Valley type. By the way, I think they based off Steve Jobs. He was the villain in the last one.
Yeah.
Eventually, they encounter a civilian family whose boating expedition was capsized by marauding aquatic dinos, at which point everyone becomes stranded on an island, which become face-to-face with a sinister, shocking discovery that's been hidden from the world for decades. I don't know. Maybe it'll be good.
Actually, I hadn't thought about this. Geek Flag with Nate Knows makes a great point. In reality, if dinosaurs were created today, they would die because even the Amazon would be too cold for them. Not only that, the temperatures were much higher back in the Cretaceous. Really, it's the Cretaceous period and the Jurassic period and so forth. The other thing, too, is I don't think there's enough thought that's given to the actual size of these creatures, how much food they would have to eat, and the fact that their respiratory systems probably would not be genetically equipped to deal with the lower oxygen in the atmosphere these days. There's a reason, for example, that insects during the Cretaceous period used to be larger than birds, because they could be, because there was a greater amount of oxygen in the air back then. Did you know that?
Really?
There literally is a limit to the size that an insect or arachnid or any creature that has an exoskeleton can be, because they breathe through an osmotic transfer that has nothing to do with lungs. They don't have lungs. They pull the oxygen directly into their bloodstream from their extremities. And if you are too large, you cannot pull in enough oxygen. You could if you were in a high oxygen environment, like it was back when we had the greenhouse effect. Everyone's so worried about the global warming and the greenhouse effect, but it was great for animals and plants.
That was interesting.
Nature is looking at us going, please give us more of that climate change. It might be bad for you, but it would be wonderful for us.
You know what's funny about what that you just said? I remember on Primeval, which was you want to. Those of you who are tired of Jurassic Park, want a good dinosaur show, watch ITV, BBC Video Releaser Primeval. You get all the dinosaurs you want, and you even get other things coming through these portals, like the insects of those periods, and they're a lot bigger than we're used to.
But like I said, they would, if they came through into our time, they literally would. Well, they wouldn't die immediately, but
that's the point.
They would not last very long. They would suffocate.
That doesn't make it interesting for the show. Come on.
No, I guess not.
You have to have the insects attack people. Of course, that show was pretty good. I hate to say this, I liked it better than New Who, because I think it was ITV's attempt to make a science fiction show to compete with new Doctor Who. And I liked it because it followed its own rules. It created science rules for the show, and it followed them, which is what old Doctor Who used to do.
Yeah.
They were consistent. That's what they did at the end of the book. The island was nuked. Yeah, that's what they did to Raccoon City in Resident Evil, the game, too. Mm-hmm. The government nuked the island. Not the island, the city. I know this is controversial, but has anyone thought that the current global warming is merely a regression to the? Oh yeah, Jordan was just bringing that up. And all the particles in the air that a dinosaur wouldn't be able to breathe. Yeah, there are a lot of impurities. He wouldn't last.
It's true. And Samuel Proctor's kind of correcting me on the periods. We're talking millions of years here. So yeah, I get a little bit lost in the temporal depth perception.
Right. Yeah, I think on Primeval they were not from the dinosaur era, they were from prior to that, because they would get things. Portals would even come in from the future once in a blue moon too, and you got the future predators popping through there.
Wow.
Remember Walking with Dinosaurs, that show?
Mm-hmm.
This show was made by the people that did Walking with Dinosaurs.
Oh, interesting.
And the Walking with Dinosaurs people once did a thing. What would happen over millions or billions of years? What would some of these creatures that we have now turn into? And they came up with this idea that bats would become, or I think almost dog-like size and like have legs and stuff. They were theorizing things about them, I think. And they would be blind, but they would have like the sonar still, and that's how they would hunt.
It's a great idea.
Some of those came through the future portals, the future predators. Yikes. I think they were no match for like a T-Rex, though. I think one ended up going up against a T-Rex.
Well, yeah, a dog-sized mammal probably wouldn't last very long against a T-Rex.
Yeah, they did a Velociraptor in one episode too of Walking with Dinosaurs, but yeah, it was a good show. It had that great Scottish actor who I could never understand what he was saying on Primeval. That's why you have to watch your British shows with subtitles. But he's a good actor. He was on Shetland too for a number of seasons. But Troy, the giant bugs were before Triassic.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you already responded to that. Speaking of franchises that I actually think are still going strong.
Yeah.
Though will 3 succeed? We'll see.
I don't see why not. I mean, it's got the momentum that the first two were super successful.
Yes.
They're bringing in a new character voiced by Keanu Reeves. He's a big deal. That's great.
Yeah. Shadow the Hedgehog.
I don't see anything here setting up any red flags for me.
Yeah, it's because I think Idris Elba plays Knuckles in this, and it's funny hearing a London accent coming out of Knuckles or whatever. But
Wait a minute, Matanui has one more comment about the last
Okay,
article, and I
yes.
love this comment.
Sure.
Dinosaurs wouldn't last long in today's age. We have guns.
I was annoyed with the first Jurassic Park movie. Now I want to go back, but the first Jurassic Park movie, I was like, can anyone get a shot off in this thing?
I know, right?
And then in Lost World, they get a shot off with a tranquilizer. What I liked about Jurassic Park, when they finally bring in the military guys, the first thing one of them does is takes a shot at one of the pterodactyls and it goes down. And I was like, yeah that's what I want to see. It's this is Jurassic
By the
Park.
time you're bringing in the military, this is no longer a containment. This is an elimination.
I don't know if they were military or mercenaries, or maybe they were the same.
Whatever.
Because I don't know. Vincent D'Onofrio's character in it wanted said, "Imagine if we had these velociraptors during Tora Bora," and I'm like, "Are you nuts?"
Yeah,
I think they were trying to train velociraptors for military purposes, and Chris Pratt was trying to argue that no, they're not ready yet. Don't do that. It's like, I guess how we have like dogs helping out in like Middle East wars, that would be like having velociraptors with us and stuff. Paramount Pictures on Tuesday rolled out a trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog 3, offering a new look at the face-off between Sonic and a new adversary, Shadow the Hedgehog, voiced by Keanu Reeves. In the third film based on the Sega video games, Sonic reunites with friends Knuckles, Idris Elba. Is it Elba or Eba, or did somebody get that spelling wrong? I thought it was
as
Elba.
far as I know, it's Elba.
Yeah, okay, someone got it wrong here. And Tails, Colleen
You
O'Shaughnessy.
mean they don't edit over here either? Really?
Tails is voiced by a lady. I didn't know this.
Is Tails female character or a male character? Not that it matters.
Male, but I guess he's a kid. He's a fox.
Okay, if it's supposed to be a kid, yes. you cast a woman because she can do the child voice. Yeah.
Shadow, a mysterious villain with powers unlike any they have faced before. With their abilities outmatched in every way, Team Sonic must seek out an unlikely alliance in hopes of stopping Shadow and protecting the planet. First introduced in the video game Sonic Adventure 2 in 2001, Shadow was a creation of Professor Gerald Robotnik, the grandfather of Sonic's arch nemesis Dr. Robotnik, possessing extraordinary speed as well as chaos control, a power that allows him to manipulate space and time. He initially depicted as an antagonist to Sonic, though in the video games for Sega, on which the film is franchise based, eventually becomes an ally. Well, that happened with Knuckles too. He's an antagonist too in the last movie. Jim Carrey is really good in these movies because he's basically able just to play a straight up villain. There's no gray areas. There's no, he's just bad. He's comical too. He has that comic sensibility too. It's like one of the first times I've seen Jim Carrey let go in a while. But
good.
The funny thing in this, it reminds me of it's like, we can't beat Shadow. Where do we go? And they have to go to Dr. Robotnik for help. Even though he was the villain in the first two movies.
Yeah.
Now they have to lie with him. And it's funny in the trailer when they first go up against Shadow, you see Knuckles says, "We don't want to fight you," and then Knuckles says, "I actually want to fight him." He has kind of a Klingon mentality, like
I like that. I like that.
Klingons, yeah. So
I can relate.
But coming to theaters following a pair of films that took over $319 million in box office gross worldwide, the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is slated to premiere on December 20th. This will be the big Christmas release. This might kick the butt of that War of the Rohirrim movie coming out. I don't know. But aside from Reeves, Kristen Ritter is the most high-profile new addition to Sonic Ensemble in the third film. For now, her role remains under wraps. Who's Kristen Ritter? Is she related to John Ritter?
Ooh, could be his daughter.
I don't know. I'm wondering who that is. But
well, somebody in the chat, I'm sure, will know because we have a very clever and well-informed chat.
Yeah, Tails is a boy. I thought so.
Yeah. But again, like I said, if he's a juvenile, casting a female is absolutely appropriate.
It reminds you of like an older school kid, like maybe Sonic is like 5th or 6th grade. Maybe that's his age range, at least in these movies. And like Tails is more like 3rd or 2nd grade.
See,
you know what I mean?
I really
like there's that young relationship, like he's the younger kid. So there's some.
I have no problem for all the people that get bent out of shape. You need to have the exact same kind of individual doing the voice, same color skin, same race, same gender, same bullshit. I lived through generations of Peter Pan being played by women.
Yes.
And Sandy Duncan playing Pinocchio. I mean, and it just made perfect sense.
Shakespeare. All the
Jessica
roles were
Jones.
done by men.
Yeah, I mean,
Jessica
that's
Jones,
kind of a different thing, but
the actress who played Jessica Jones. That's who it is. Okay. I still haven't seen the.
Yeah, that's right. I remember her. Yeah.
Yes. I am going to say this. I still haven't seen the first Sonic movie. Sonic the Hedgehog was an example of the fans doing an outcry, and by some weird thing, the studio listened and said, "You know what?" Or maybe Sega pressured them, one or the other, and basically says, "We're going to redesign Sonic. We're going to redo some elements of the movie to make it more in line with the games." It comes out, it's a big smash hit because they listened to the criticism instead of yelling and saying, "We know better."
Yeah.
And now you have
and amazingly, it did well.
Yes.
Shocker. And remember, there was a huge contingent in the entertainment industry that were upset about that because they said you're letting these toxic fans win. No, we're letting our customers win because the customer's always right. And we know they're right because we make a profit.
Yes.
You don't. Shut up.
Time to move on. Looks good. Who knows? Maybe I'll even try and catch it in the theater. We'll see. IDW Publishing. Oh, boy. It's funny. We usually start out with this type of news, and now we're ending on some of the sour notes. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because it's getting late. But, Heather Antos?
Heard of, yeah.
Yeah, I think she's a troublemaker. But actually, I do like this, the fact they give you a nice article summary. ID Publishing lets go of publisher Mark Doyle and 3 other... this is from Bleeding Cool. Okay, I give them points. They actually did a good summary here. IDW lets go of publisher Mark Doyle and 3 other staff members in marketing, production, and shipping. Mark Doyle, ex-Batman Group editor at DC, joined IDW in 2021, became sole publisher in 2023. Recent layoff follows departures of key figures and renewals of IDW's Star Trek license with Paramount for 2025. IDW is planning exciting releases like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #1 and Alan Moore's final graphic novel. Yeah, Alan Moore. Yeah, okay. Last night, Bleeding Cool. Heard from multiple sources, the IDW publisher Mark Doyle, former Batman Group editor, has been let go. Okay, so I don't think IDW is doing so hot right now.
No, it is not.
And apparently, Paramount did re-up their Star Trek license for IDW for 2025. Part of me wonders, so what does that entail? Is that Discovery Comics or is that classic Trek or classic TNG?
I'm sorry. What was the question again?
What kind of Star Trek comics do they publish? Is it like original series or is it this new Trek?
They're trying to do everything. Yeah, because they have done Next Gen. They've done Next Gen meets original. They've done crossovers of everything.
Remember the DC Star Trek comics?
I collected all of them. Yeah. I had all of them. They even had this really great, totally non-canon, but they filled in the storyline between Star Trek 2 and was it between Star Trek 2 and Star Trek 3?
Yes.
Or was it?
Yes. No, they did. They did. I think I knew what you're talking
between 3
about.
and 4.
They had.
I forget. And they had to undo everything they'd done so that. Yeah. No, I think it was between 2.
And 3 and 4, you're right, because I think I had the comic before Star Trek 4 came out, and it was different because they had to explain how they had this Klingon ship and how they were in trouble again.
Right,
and they had to tie into the movie.
They also had to regress Spock's, so that he was, all messed up like he.
In line with the comic,
exactly.
In line with the movie, but also in line with the comic because they had to do stories in between the movies.
They were very, very clever about what they did and how they did it.
Yeah. Good. That's called good writing.
Yep.
Which we've had. I mean, I'll give Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. a lot of credit, at least at those earlier seasons. They did try to make it work within the MCU at the time, but of course that was when it was run by the guy that used to own Marvel Studios, right? The one who they kicked out. But I never had motivation to watch those Sonic movies. Reminds me of those crap live action Alvin the Chipmunks and Smurfs movies I suffered as a kid. I think if you have to ask yourself a question, do you like Jim Carrey And do you like seeing him have it on the screen? And it's Sonic at least looks like Sonic. He looks like a CG Sonic, like that horrible creation they created in the original. He looks cartoon-like, which is how he should look. And even though they changed it, I like the fact that Robotnik is from Earth, because he always said that people are always trying to steal his power. That's why he escaped to Earth. And of course, Dr. Robotnik is a robotic scientist on Earth. And of course, now that's a feasible thing, because now we have drones and everything, right? So being a robot scientist now is not far-fetched anymore. So anyway. Mattel, this may be in your wheelhouse or maybe not. You're more of a Hasbro, right?
But yeah,
fighting words. I'm kidding.
No.
Okay.
Actually, the whole industry is having serious problems, and I've got strong things to say about all of them, even the ones that I basically support. So yeah.
So here's the bad news for tonight. We have some. Okay. Because it seems like the rest of the news, even the other stuff, like the stuff that's supposed to be failing is failing. The stuff that's people are excited about is good. And then there's Jurassic World 4. Anyway, okay, the sudden departure this week of Michelle Mendelovitz from running Mattel Television Studios looks to indicate the fun games are over at the toy maker, with legal action hanging overhead like a sword of Damocles. The former 20th Century Television SVP Mendelovitz has engaged in the service of bare-knuckles attorney Ryan Friedman to negotiate her exit from Mattel. I've learned the situation that could be heading toward courts. Perhaps more telling is the way things have been going down at Nyan Krez-run company. Mendelovitz may not be the only top executive on the TV team and elsewhere at Mattel who is heading out the door. Michelle is a seasoned and well-respected television executive. The Lehner, Freedom, Tatum, plus Cooley LLP co-founder told Deadline Monday of Mendelovitz's shortest stint at Mattel. She was hired by Mattel and assembled a high-caliber team to build a preeminent television studio for an otherwise dysfunctional company. That's kind of a cut right there, right?
Yeah.
Friedman added with certain careful chosen words, "It's unfortunate that certain members of Mattel leadership prevented her from doing so. She is prepared for this legal action, but hopeful that it will not be necessary. Time will tell if others follow." Both in Friedman's mention of legal action if others follow, the seeds of rapid escalation of this Mattel matter are certainly planted. Now currently representing Rebel Wilson in her battle with the Deb producers over allegations around the TIFF close and night drama, former X-Men 97 showrunner Bo DeMayo over his surgical exit earlier this year from Disney Animated Revival. Friedman knows how to lob grenades that land with a bang in both boardrooms and with the media. Whether this tactic will close a hefty exit package for a pulling back of the shoddy veil at Mattel, well, to paraphrase Hollywood lawyer, time will tell. On that note, Mattel has no comment on the latest development in this Mendelovitz situation. However, sources close to the toy maker say there have been no other departures from the TV studio since Mendelovitz's exit, or any indication there may be. A seasoned small screen exec, Mendelovitz joined Mattel in late 2023, not long after the Oscar-nominated Barbie proved to be a box office blockbuster for Warner Brothers and the toy maker. In her role at Mattel, Mendelovitz was designated to oversee and guide the development, production, and distribution of the company's growing slate of episodic content over the broadcast and streaming globally. Over her tenure, Mendelovitz reported to Josh Silverman, Chief Franchise Officer, Mattel. Mendelovitz was Hillary Clinton and Chelsea Clinton's executive producer at Hidden Light Productions prior to joining Mattel and Kreis's ambitious plans for the company in the greater media space. She also ran drama development for 20th TV and was a senior creative executive for scripted and unscripted programming at Apple before that. As for her next move beyond this Mattel fallout to be determined. Whose side are you on here, or do we not have enough information?
I don't think we have enough information, but what I will say is this. This touches on something that I've been thinking about for a while, and I'm actually surprised I haven't seen more YouTubers talking about this. Since the success of the Barbie film, right, I feel like Mattel has to walk a very tight rope. And here's what I mean by that. I don't think it is a big shock. I don't think I'm saying anything terribly controversial to say that the whole concept of get woke, go broke tends to play out almost all the time. And people will point to Barbie and say, well, that was pretty woke. And it did really, really well. And my argument is there are very, very specific circumstances there that prop it up. And if it continues down the woke road, it can go off that winning path very easily and very quickly. And my concern is that there's some things going on behind the scenes that are going to end up derailing possible future Barbie success. They want to build on their success, not build on the things that could derail their success.
Were they working on a Hot Wheels show? What was the thing they were doing?
Yes, they're trying to. They are trying to find a way to capitalize on everything they've got. And there was talk about a Hot Wheels movie or TV show or something, and everyone is looking at that and going, how the hell are you going to do that and it not be cars?
What else would it be? It should just be the wheels, and the wheels have different personalities. I'm joking. That's a horrible idea.
And real quick, this is off topic, but Curtis Selby said something about Max World Entertainment. What about him? Was he here? Was Trey here somewhere?
No, he was just. They were talking about Saturday morning cartoons. Like people want kind of a feel of Saturday morning cartoons again. Max World does them on Saturday morning, right? He does the fan made Saturday morning cartoons, I think, right?
Oh, I didn't even know that. See, just like Curtis was saying, I not only do I follow him, I'm a channel member of his, but it is hard to keep up with everybody's content. Yeah. It really is.
I think her exit signals signals that most companies are focusing on getting the activist creators and executives out of their companies. We'll see. Maybe. I don't know what she was like. I know she worked for the Clintons, so I don't know what that could mean. But
oh gosh,
in this age of remakes, you want original content. Rolling the floor. Yeah, I know. It's because what would they do? Does Mattel own Skipper? They could do a Skipper show because they can't do a Barbie show because they already have that movie form, right? You know, you don't want to have your peas and carrots touch. You know,
that actually kind of makes sense. But again, the more they start digging into the Barbie IP, the more possibility it is that they screw it up. They really do. This is very, very dangerous for them.
Oh, this is coming. Oh, that's coming to Amazon. You know, I didn't think to grab that story. Mattel is currently trying to make a live-action He-Man movie. I heard Amazon's getting a live-action He-Man movie. I think they cast.
That should be
Tila.
Wonderful.
They cast Tila already, I think. Our final story of the night.
This might not be a bad one to go out on. This one is actually kind of.
Oh my goodness! They have to stop. Okay, the team behind Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey's films expands their Pooh-niverse with the upcoming films. Pinocchio.
Oh, that is terrible! Is that really something that the movie company came up with? The Pooh-niverse? That's like, that's R-rated.
Pinocchio Unstrung. What the heck is Pinocchio Unstrung about?
That one actually sounds like it could be a really good one.
Now I'm imagining.
Again, see, this is, and this is going back to what I said at the beginning, Boomer. The idea of Blood and Honey would have been so much better if it was a real bear terrorizing people in the 100-acre wood.
Well,
and Christopher Robbins was struggling to keep himself and his family alive. That would have made for a good movie. The idea of Bambi. People don't realize this because they think deer are so pretty and so cute. Bucks are dangerous.
Yes.
They really, really are, especially during mating season. They will F you up.
They got those horns, man. They can do some damage.
They and people have been killed by deer. They absolutely have. So can you imagine one maybe that's rabid or something going crazy, or in this case, I mean, you call him Bambi, but, is it really Bambi? And you've killed his mate or his mother or his whatever, and he, tracks you down. That could be a really, really good movie. And I'll tell you something. A dark Pinocchio movie? I could totally see it. First, forget about, of course, none of these are meant to be live action versions of Disney. These are other companies doing these properties, and Disney has nothing to say about it. But there are things in the original Pinocchio story that would just curl your toes. I mean, I don't know if you realize this or not, but in the original story, Pinocchio doesn't like being told by Jiminy Cricket that he's a bad kid and he shouldn't do things, so he crushes him. Seriously, Pinocchio kills Jiminy Cricket in the original stories.
Does he come back as a ghost or something?
I don't remember.
He just stays dead.
I don't think so. Yeah, he just stays dead. But I could also see like a Chucky style Pinocchio story. I really could. That would be pretty damn awesome.
I'm reading the Pendragon saga, the books the Daily Wire is adapting. It's been really good. That's the only thing I'm looking forward to. Yeah, well.
Yeah, I hear you on that. But yeah, I've kind of derailed you on this Bambi thing.
No, it's okay. Let's read and see what this is all about. While you wait for the trailer, it's coming soon. Find the official sales post below. Bambi the Reckoning is being described as Cujo meets Jurassic Park. In the film, after a mother and son get in a car wreck, they soon become hunted by Bambi, a mutated, grief-stricken deer on a deadly rampage seeking revenge for the death of his mother. Maybe they hit his mom with the car. Think about that.
Oh, yeah, it could
That'll mess up your car, too. You hit a deer, right?
Yeah.
Now I have the image from Tommy Boy of the deer in the back seat coming to life, remember? Remember they hit the deer and they're all upset and they put the deer in the back of the car and then the deer wakes up while they're driving and they get out of the car and it wrecks the
Exactly. Real quick, I didn't realize Matanui was leaving. He may have already left, but good night, Matanui. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Public domain is going to be our friend. Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
There is a reason public domain exists. It is meant to allow you to be creative and use older properties. I understand copyright is meant to protect an author and creator, allow them to make their money. But after a certain amount of time, it's like, okay, you're done. You've made your money. Now that is out in the world, right? I mean, let's face it. There are so many things that are trademarks and copyrights and whatnot that are now in the zeitgeist of people's minds, right? You know, there are things about Superman that are just universal about superheroes in people's minds. It has gone beyond Superman. So that's why when you had crazy lawsuits like DC Comics trying to go after the greatest American hero, it's like, screw you. You don't own the rights to a flying superhero with a cape.
They went after Captain Marvel back in the day.
Yep, Captain Marvel too, and that only got resolved because they bought Fawcett Comics. But you know, this is what happens, and then you got Disney trying to buy up everything, so they own everything. And I mean, it's going to be pretty soon. You won't be able to go to a pet store and buy a mouse because Disney will show up and say, "No, we own the rights to mice."
Dude, there's more movies coming from this company. Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare.
I'll tell you, I'm sorry, but I can see a good story there. There is a fan theory. I don't even want to call it fan theory because it definitely seems to be implied by the original author that you know, the Lost Boys were not immortal. They grew up. And that was not allowed. So Peter Pan would make them go away. So that's why they never grew up.
Yikes. They're doing Rabbit from the Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. He's getting his own standalone movie.
Is he really? I thought that was a joke. Okay.
No, it's not a joke. The Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland.
That's another one. All of these, if you look at the original stories, they are dark enough to be horror stories as they are.
Dude, Sleeping Beauty. Is that based on the Anne Rice novel? I'm sorry, wait, I didn't say that out loud. No.
Is there an Anne Rice novel based on Sleeping Beauty?
It was not written under her name. It's like a very adult book. Let's just say Sleeping Beauty gets woken up a certain way. Anyway.
There was, I can imagine. There was a I'm trying to remember. Well, in the original story, Sleeping Beauty, Yeah, that's how she was away. No. I'm sorry. Was it Sleeping Beauty or was it Snow White?
Oh.
One of those two was brought back because she was well, let's just say the prince was kind of into the idea of cold and not alive.
Oh no!
And but because she was still alive, little Prince Junior, comes into existence, and as he's emerging, that wakes Mom up.
And that's okay. Well,
so that's from the original. That's from the original.
Were they married first, at least before? Okay. Poonaverse.
You can get into a whole kind of Game of Thrones thing here. So if they weren't married, that's
probably what they should have done with the. They should have tried for a Game of Thrones thing with the princesses, but oh well.
Oh, that would have been good too, right?
Poonaverse Monsters Assemble in 2025.
Is that real? Are they actually saying that?
That's what it says. Yes.
Oh my
All these
God!
Characters come together in Poonaverse Monsters Assemble in 2025. What?
Look, I can't even be mad at these dingbats because unfortunately, for all the things that I've just thrown out there that would make for good stories, that's probably not what these jokers are going to do. We're probably going to get more like Blood and Honey. That's going to suck. But they made so much money on that, and people will go see this thing. It will make a profit. It will be profitable for them. They might just as well,
I wonder who they're going to get to play Sleeping Beauty. It's not going to be someone famous, but maybe a proper B-movie actress.
I actually find that funny. Think 50 Shades, only better written.
Yeah,
that's not a high bar, so I'm not surprised.
There was a BBC limited series called Neverland where Peter and his lost boys were street thieves, and Hook was their boss before they got pulled in Neverland. That's interesting. It's an interesting idea. Sense. But I rather like the first 3 seasons of Once Upon a Time, and there was also that comic book, Fables.
Girls?
Remember Fables?
Oh,
Fables.
Okay. I was going to say Alan Moore did one called Lost Girls. That one's all very adult.
Yeah, and maybe problematic in some ways too, right?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it's just wrong.
Maybe in the way that the feds might look into what's. Never mind. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Things in there that you would not be able to film in live action.
So
for the same reason you couldn't do it in the Anne Rice Interview with the Vampire. Just saying. Yeah.
Anyway, here we are. That's the end for tonight. I rather like the first season than Once Upon a Time. Yeah. All right. Sorry.
That first season, it ended on a note where it just should have stayed. It was. I don't know. They ended it as if they were not planning on a second season, and it should have just stayed that way.
I had a thing for the Evil Queen and also the Blue Fairy on that show. I mean, the actress who played the Blue Fairy.
Kind of pretty much all the girls on that show were kind of on the hot side.
But what's funny about the actress who played the Blue Fairy, she showed up on Bates Motel. I think she might be one of the first women that Norman murders, actually.
Yep. She was his teacher or something like that. Yeah.
Which I didn't know if there was a thing going on where she, I don't know. There was a weird relationship. She was almost.
Well, there was a lot there. If you watch Bates Motel, there was a lot implied there that you kind of go, I'm not sure if that is happening or if it's
in his head, especially the further it goes on.
Because then they start getting towards, his mother and all that kind of stuff. It's like, wow.
It kind of fell apart in that final season, though.
Yeah, it did. Well, especially when they get up to and past the events of Psycho.
And to be fair, I didn't have a problem with them bringing Marion Crane into it. I didn't even necessarily have a problem with Brianna being casting because I'm like, they probably wanted a bombshell actress, and she's a bombshell pop star, but Brianna couldn't act.
No,
her acting was too stiff, and it showed. And then they did that stupid reversal with her and Sam Loomis, which I thought was dumb.
Yeah,
it was just dumb. They didn't do the shower scene like they were supposed to. Or in the book, it was a beheading. If they wanted to go with the book, I think it was a beheading with an axe. But
actually, I think what would have been good is if they did. And this is what you do, okay? Right, the best series have their story arc planned out to the last episode, and then they're done with it, right? They should have planned out Bates Motel that would lead right up to the movie Psycho. It should have led up to it, and that was it. And then if you want to see the story from there on, go see the movie Psycho.
Plus, it could have taken place like years later, right? It could have been, because he's a little older in that too, right? He's like
that's true.
But anyway,
well, actually, that's probably how you end it. You end it with resolving all the storylines, so nobody's looking at him anymore for any crimes or whatever.
Yeah,
and then he just takes over, and then you see him peeking on girls in that first room. And then that's where it ends. And you know that nothing else really significantly happens until the movie Psycho.
Oh, except the actress who played Snow White. I think the actress got the role because the actor who played her Prince Charming was her husband. They probably wanted the on-screen chemistry. That
makes sense. There's nothing wrong with that.
But yeah, she was fine. There was this Australian actress though who I thought would have been perfect for Snow White, but oh well, say la vie. That wraps it up. I'm trying to think. What's going on? We have deleted scenes.
So the very next thing, yes, I'm going to drop the link here. Make sure as soon as you're done here, the next thing you're going to want to do, get over to deleted scenes. We have not yet set it up so that we can auto-dramatically kick you over there, but we're working on that for next week.
But there's the link, and you should be subscribed to deleted scenes anyway.
Yes, you should.
He's a friend of the channel, and I'm on his streams on Tuesday with Sparkwood and 21. But before Sparkwood and 21, we have tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night, deleted scenes will be on with me. For Monday Night at the Movies, we are having a 1993 action hero double feature. Right?
Yeah.
So it's the Cliffhanger and the last action hero.
So you're going to be doing
1993. Yep.
That's summer before I moved to Florida.
Oh, there you go. Back when you were still in New Jersey.
I saw those in New Jersey, and then we moved, and then
back
when it would rain, but it wouldn't.
Wouldn't flood, right?
Well, it kind of flooded once, but that was a really bad hurricane. But it flooded the street, but it didn't get up to our house at least. But that was in '95. Yes. So she was better than Rachel Ziegler. Yes. Well.
No. No doubt.
Rachel Ziegler, I'll be honest.
That's not a high bar either.
I might have even been open to her if she just didn't open up her mouth and just started spewing.
They could have gotten away with.
She's a pretty young woman. I'm not going to say she's not, that she couldn't play a princess. Ridiculous though. She's the one
to shut her mouth, and let's face it, all the problems that film has are directly a result of her. There's no doubt about it. So that's 8 Central, 9 Eastern on Labor Day. That will be our Labor Day feature, the 1993 action hero double feature, which then, of course, Tuesday, as you point out yourself, Netter, me, will be joining Deleted Scenes on his channel on Tuesday for live from Sparkwood and 21. That's starting at 7:30. We will be watching the next episode of season 3, or Twin Peaks: The Return, if you prefer, the Showtime limited series. And of course, doing our deep dive on it. We have to because there's just so much to pick apart there. So that will be Tuesday. Thursday, and he's here in the chat with us. Thursday over on Netter's Network, 9 Central, 10 Eastern. We'll be sitting down with Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies, talking about his channel, talking about what he's got coming up, and making sure you are all subscribed to him, because you should be already, but if you're not, you will subscribe on Thursday.
It's always nice to have groovy movies.
It really is.
Are they from the 60s?
He does. Well, he brings them from all different periods, but there's some that come from the 60s.
Because I think of groovy, I think 60s. I don't know.
And as I had alluded to, well, I think I outright said earlier in the stream, Friday night on Last Call, we will be talking about this phenomenon that we've had in the past 5-6 years of blaming the fans and using that as an excuse for putting out crappy entertainment that nobody wants to go see. We will dissect that argument.
Yes.
We'll look at some examples and maybe get a little bit of a rant on.
Well, here's what happens. They come in and they take over and they destroy these things, and then they get angry at us because when we don't go out and support them financially. We'll get into more detail about it Friday.
It's like the domestic abuser, right? Yeah. Who beats the hell out of you and then says, "See what you made me do?"
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You're the one burning these brands. Like we'll talk about The Crow again on Friday as well because we haven't heard from the actual director of the remake yet. So
that's true.
Yes.
And then that brings us to Saturday. Big Al presents Films with Friends, 9 Central, 10 Eastern, where, we will be watching Little Shop of Horrors, Bop, Shabop.
Good one.
Little Shop of Horrors, Bop, wah, wah, wah.
Another one with Steve Martin and
You'll be a dentist. You have a talent for causing things pain. Yes. It's the musical one.
There's a version of that with an alternate ending. Did you know that?
Yeah, so on the DVD copy that I have, they have the alternate ending.
Yes.
That was originally screened based on the original film.
Yes.
Yeah. Where it's like the whole Invasion of the Body Snatchers thing.
Yeah.
The alien plant wins and starts taking over the world and everyone dies.
I think either ending works. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And even in the happy sappy ending at the end,
it's not so happy.
It's implied that it's not over and it could still go the bad way. But I think the biggest problem is, and I think this is a failing on, and maybe I should save this I'll go through it on Saturday too. But I think it's a failing of Western film and Western viewership that we just can't handle not happy endings. A spoiler for a 50-year-old film.
It's about the journey, not the destination.
The original movie is a dark comedy that ends with Audrey and Seymour being eaten by the plant. And then, like I said, everybody eventually gets killed by the plant as it, like a weed takes over the world.
Feed me.
Exactly.
I don't have any more of a tough titty. Remember that? Said that to him. It was, I don't know who did the voice of the plant, but
I know it's great. But then when they kind of did that with the musical, test audience did not like that, so they went back and changed the ending so that it's got a happy ending with a possibility of the plant still being around and still taking over. But but you know what? All of that aside, the music from this is wonderful. I love it so much. In fact, the gal that plays Audrey, this is again, this is how you do a film adaptation of a Broadway musical. The girl that plays Audrey is the one that played her on Broadway. She's perfect. Don't screw around with it. Just, And I was impressed by Rick Moranis. I mean, I was like, I didn't know he could sing. He's good. But he's got that Rick Moranis style to it, right?
It does,
where he's not like a great singer. He's a funny singer, and it works.
It works. It's a great little musical, yeah. But
so yeah, that's Saturday's so yeah, you get the impression I'm kind of looking forward to this one.
It's a good one.
That's on Big Al. Yeah.
And then Sunday it'll be deleted scenes. He'll be doing his I believe Western cinema with Outlaw Bill, and then it'll continue on to his Unscripted, the official pre-show of Geeky Geezers, where you get to hear him unfiltered.
Yep.
And then back with Geeky Geezers next week. Who knows what we'll be talking about then?
Well, we know at least one, right? We'll be talking about the Crow from the perspective of the current director.
Well, that's going to be on Friday.
Or will we be talking about that on Friday?
Because we're going to bring it up.
We may not bother bringing it up on Sunday. Okay.
but we'll have stuff to talk about. There's always
something going on.
That, or I'll just talk
for
for 2 hours about the Tetris Forever game reveals, and
we'll talk about Tetris
the minutia,
Forever,
all the minutia of the various versions of Tetris. Okay, all right, but people are talking about armchair critics hating on Rings of Power based off lore. Yeah, because it's not based on anything. They're making crap up. That's why I want nothing. It's based bad fan fiction.
Yeah, this isn't Lord of the Rings.
Tolkien is literature. Problem. That's what it is. It's done. The author's done. Don't even get me started. I'm terrified. There's the link. Tune into Other Side of Midnight. Catch y'all later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.